Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's me, Legal Vices, and Chandler Remington.
Morning, everybody.
It is OJ Thursday. It's back on the menu.
Woo!
We got done with our trial, with our Travis Rudolph trial, and here we are. I'm going to bump Chandler out just for a quick second so we can do the daily cocktail up close and personal like. Hang real tight there, Chandler. We'll bring you back in a minute. Okay, everybody, today's cocktail is the Gin Ricky. Simple, the same as the Lime Ricky, except you swap out the bourbon for gin. Always do a double because doubles are twice as good as regulars. Take one lime juice of one freshly squeezed lime, drop it in there, drop it in your cup. And you want to do 4 ounces of gin. For a Gin Ricky, use the best gin you can possibly afford. You won't regret it. Pour that in, boom. Should have used a bigger glass or smaller ice. It looks like we're going to be topping this thing off before we get the final ingredient in. So once you drop that in, you should have more space than that. So let's create some space. Good enough. Then you want to top it off with some sparkling mineral water or some soda water, just not tonic. Tonic and soda water are different. Just top that bad boy up. Give it a little bit of a fizz. Tastes great. Swizzle it around slowly so that you do not spill it. Faux shizzle my swizzle. And drop in a little bit of lime for garnish. And there you go. The Gin Ricky. All right, now we can bring Chandler back up. Now that we're all Chandler deprived. There we are. Howdy.
Hi.
We got our Gin Ricky out of the way.
Lovely. I wish I could enjoy a gin cocktail. It looks beautiful. I can't really drink gin. I had one too many gin something Collinses when I was 19, and ever since then, unfortunately, anything with juniper, But you enjoy. I'm very happy that you've made a lovely cocktail for yourself. I'm going to be sticking with tea since it is 6 a.m.
Well, see, I'm challenging you. I know we've mentioned this before. You just need a non-juniper forward gin.
You think so? That might be it.
Absolutely.
I'd love to drink gin.
Hendrix, or this is my favorite gin on the planet Earth, the Botanist. It's from the Bruichladdich distillery that makes some of my favorite scotches.
I like the bottle.
And it has almost no juniper flavor whatsoever.
I'd like to try that, because if I could drink gin, I miss martinis, I miss, Collinses, etc. And there are always so many cocktails on the menu that I can't enjoy because I'm like, I can't drink gin, but maybe one day. You could be correct about that. Let's see if I can pass that test.
You can.
I'd like to try.
I know you can do it.
I'm a whiskey girl, but just
Hendrix gin is also very floral, so they make it from rose hips and things. So it's very, there's almost no juniper in that as well.
I might try that out. Yeah.
That's the alcohol portion of the day. How are we all doing out there? We know we missed OJ Simpson, but we're back. I swear, if we shut up and let this thing play long enough, we'll get back to BARRY SCHECK today. Hank
we might
Goldberg
actually
will finish boring us to tears. It was really, really rough last time, so we pulled the ripcord. So we're going to go back to that today and see if we can't finish off Hank Goldberg. Should be about an hour from now. We get BARRY SCHECK back in our lives.
I think we can power through.
Don't have the poll up yet because didn't have time. So we'll put the poll up as soon as we have the opportunity to do so. Doggo Cam is still active. And we have our Vice Racks of the day for the current high super chatter of the day. So first super chatter comes in, gets to be the first Vice Law Racks. And then if you want to supplant them, then it's just another super chat of greater value than the current Law Racks, Vice Racks. Doggos are here waiting. They're primed and ready to go. Chandler Remington is over here with their tea primed and ready to go. I have my Gin Ricky primed and ready to go. And we've got OJ primed and ready to kill and kill again, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Let's bring up the screen. All right, and embiggen it. Boom. All right.
I like when we embiggen things.
I do too. especially when we embiggen my stuff.
Oh, Jeff, you dirty old man.
Old? Who are you calling old?
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I object to being called old.
Oh, don't take me so seriously. I don't mean half the things I say.
Everything else is incredibly accurate.
I'm here to joke.
Hey, everybody. Mods. Welcome people here in chat. Welcome,
Yes,
welcome,
hello.
welcome. This picture is where we left off last week, with Hank Goldberg trying to somehow rehabilitate Dennis Fung's horrible picture. We spent probably 45 minutes showing him walking back and forth with his assistant, trying to determine whether he brought the blood sample before the blood-soaked shoes, or the distinctly non-blood-soaked shoes with these speck blood before or after each other. So, he testified that he collected the blood sample from OJ before the shoes, and then later he testified that he did the shoes before the blood vial, and the records were there were some erasures on the records to change them and whatnot. So there was problems. That's what we've been harping on, and we're going to continue to harp on it for the next little while. I swear if I shut up, we can be back to BARRY SCHECK in virtually no time at all. But that no time at all is going to seem like a hell of a slog until we get there. We didn't do an OJ. See, last OJ stream was not last week. It was 2 weeks ago. Last week we were involved in the trial of Travis Rudolph. Marv White. Oh, I echoed. Are you? Wow. I'm hearing a vague echo. I hope no one else is hearing a vague echo.
I'm not hearing an echo.
All right, cool then. We'll just pretend it's not happening. Marv White. Marv White is the Vice Lorax, the first Vice Lorax of the day, with the $5 super chat. Back to our regularly scheduled program. I think you meant to say programming, but it can't have program.
I like your pronunciation there.
All right. Thank you so much for that.
Well, that's...
And here we go. With muted audio.
Let's see whether you can tell us where 5, 6, and AR.
AR. Oh my God!
5
it must be an assault
in
picture.
the foreground. 6 is to the upper left, and A is up to the upper right.
All right, they're collecting evidence and talking about it.
Okay. And now, Mr. Fung, the distance between 6 and B.
The distance between 6 and B is roughly 65 feet.
Maybe we can have a picture of D on the Rockingham exhibit. It's People's 120. All right.
Yawn.
And what is
Already.
the approximate distance then between B and C?
Kind of an ugly driveway.
I wasn't able to make that calculation from my notes.
And does that kind of turn the corner?
Yes.
All right, as depicted on People's 120, do the call-out lines show the relative positions of B and C?
Yes.
Maybe we can have People's 120 F, a picture of that. Can you tell us which one is C in the perspective shot?
In the perspective shot, C is the
C is for
card
cookie,
in
and that's
the-
good enough for me.
Well, Marsha's
foreground.
suit is
All right.
very 80s.
And what is the approximate distance then between C and stain 7?
Marsha and magenta. What are we looking at? I don't see anything.
OJ's
It
driveway.
was
Uh-huh.
Exciting, isn't it?
Fascinating.
Again, this is a rough
Thrilling,
estimate, and it's about 25 to 30 feet, or 25 feet. But that's rough.
Okay, maybe we can see photograph number I.
Again, Barry Scheck spent so much time criticizing the evidence collection techniques that now they have to go through a lot of the evidence and try to re-explain
does.
how what they did was not a complete
And
and
then the
utter
distance
disaster.
between 7 and 8.
That's going to be hard for them, I think.
The distance
It has
between
been.
7 and
It's
8
been a
is
struggle.
roughly 20 feet.
And can we see photograph K? Does that show number 8?
Yes.
Oh, that's what we're looking at. That tiny speck of blood. Is that what they're trying
Yeah.
to photograph?
Yeah, all the way down the driveway.
How are you supposed to see that unless you close up on it? That
Well, if
can't.
you were Dennis Fung or Mark Furman or one of the other people, perhaps you saw it up close when you planted
Mark
it.
the little diagram
Just
that we
kidding.
just got
Sort of, maybe,
as people's
Kind of.
I mean,
190.
My
initial
LAPD?
identification.
dirty?
194.
No.
Small
My boys in
diagram.
blue.
dirty in a different way than I am.
And I'll place the 194.
Damn it! I hate when I do. This is the third time I've tried to make this banner. Get to it, then I'll make the poll.
Madam Reporter, how you doing?
Oh, I want to learn how to make a poll. I still haven't done that yet.
Maybe I can just put this on the elbow quickly just to get the witness to that.
One, please.
How are we feeling about Marsha's suit today?
It's horrendous.
Yeah, I really don't like. It's so severe with the lapels.
Okay, is this the little crime scene sketch that was part of the crime scene identification checklist that shows the various items?
Whereas
Not
his
working
suit
for
has
her.
been in
Which
fashion
is the-
since 1932.
Not the doctor.
It's not, and it doesn't fit him well either.
Well, what is this?
He looks gawky and everything.
This is a representation of that.
Okay, but is there a part of
This
this
is the Kandinsky
that's
sketch that
new
I stole from
added
LACMA?
onto?
Yes.
Okay, what part is that? Do we see that on here?
Yes. Between the circles with numbers in them are distances that I've made rough calculations to.
Okay, so that's the new part.
Yes.
And did you do that in preparation for your testimony a few days ago?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Wait a minute.
Please.
Wait, what the hell is that? That wasn't supposed to be there.
Now, you said that you did a phenolphthalein test of the glove that was located at Rockingham.
There.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And for what purpose did you do that?
Oh,
I was requested by
Marsha is way
Detective Van Adder
170.
to perform a pheno test on that item.
Why didn't you refuse?
It was important to his investigation at the time. At the time he requested it.
Did he
Marsha,
say
Marsha,
why he
Marsha.
wanted that information?
Marsha.
He can say yes or no, he was told.
Yes.
Be funny if he said yes
I'm
or
not
no, he
sure
was
if he did or
told.
not.
Okay, did you know that there was going to be a search warrant?
Yes.
Why did you think that it was reasonable to conduct this
Except I don't think
phenolphthalein
she's
test
gay,
in the
Flux,
field?
but you know,
The
She is when she wears that.
yeah.
performing a phenolphthalein test on the glove
She's a hot lesbian.
was
No, the audio in court
Minimally
streams was much better 30 years ago than it
invasive
was
to the-
today. Courtroom audio is a lost technology.
item itself.
Much like how we built the pyramids, how the
Wouldn't have-
Romans built the aqueducts. It's how
wouldn't
they
have
managed to
contaminated
have
it,
good court
and
audio in 1995.
Carefully selecting an area, trace evidence would not be disturbed either.
Can you just tell us what's involved in the
Marcia wearing a
phenolphthalein
dickie?
test?
Well, rumor has it she was wearing Chris Darden's dickie.
A cotton applicator
They did say
is
that.
wet with distilled water.
I think
It is
they were
applied
quoted
to
as saying
a
that they were more
stain
intimate than lovers.
so that the stain is transferred onto the wet applicator. The reagent phenolphthalein is placed on the cotton swab or applicator. And then hydrogen peroxide is placed
In your
after
hair
the
to bleach it.
phenolphthalein onto the applicator. And if it is positive, immediately a bright pink color appears.
Now, sir, does the cotton applicator have to touch the glove more than that one time in order to collect a little portion of the stain?
gets the cotton
No.
applicator again.
I was just thinking something exactly like
Now,
that.
you said that when you were inside the
Great minds.
Rockingham location, you didn't see any bloody shoe prints or partial shoe prints on the rug. Is that true?
That's correct.
Yes, they
Now, when you
they
were
were
back
told
at
there was
the
some bloody
Bundy
footprints
location,
there, but then they just
looking
turned
at
out the other
shoe prints,
investigator was British. It was just a big misunderstanding.
Did they fade out at some point?
They
Well,
got
that's
lighter and
odd.
lighter, and after a point,
Think about
we
it.
could not detect shoe prints.
Okay.
It's too
Did
early.
you
I
also
can't,
see
I can't
something that
figure it out.
resembled or was a shoe print in the Bronco when you did the search of the
You
Bronco?
might have to
on
spell
the
that one out for me
14th?
later.
What's the objection? Legal basis.
It's speculative, it's conclusory, and it's leading.
Fung didn't get a makeover.
Overruled.
I keep forgetting to wear
I
my
saw-
Fung jacket. Damn it. Remind
I
me
love
next
the
week.
jacket. Yeah, I will.
Okay, we just had a trial
All right,
commercial
thank you,
break.
Counsel. Mr. Goldberg, would you rephrase that last question, please?
Yes.
Right.
Sir, did you see something when you were looking at the Bronco that resembled a shoe print?
Yes,
And where was that?
that was on the driver floor area.
Carpet?
Yes,
Matches the drapes? Yes.
So based upon what you saw at the Bundy location,
By the way, if this is your first time joining
in
this
terms
trial,
of the shoe prints that were fading
we're actually
out
much more serious
and
than this,
faded
but
out
this
at
is
some
really,
point
really
along the
boring
trail.
part of the testimony for the next
and what you saw
hour.
in the Bronco,
We're just talking over it and
would
having
you
fun and shenanigans.
necessarily expect to find bloody shoe prints in the defendant's house?
Overruled.
not necessarily, no.
Why not necessarily?
There are a couple of reasons. One is the
Yes, this is redirect.
shoes
we're
could
about
have
to
been
get into
removed
recross.
prior to going
Just
into the
trying to get
house.
through it, people.
And second, if the shoes were still worn going into the house, the shoes may have dried off, or there may not have been enough blood left on the soles to make tracks.
Or maybe he didn't kill them and,
And
didn't
you
track
do you have
blood
any
anywhere.
personal knowledge one way or the other as to whether the defendant took his shoes off when he got back to Rockingham?
Sustained.
Strike.
Just showing that he doesn't.
Rephrase the question.
Were you there on the evening of the 12th at the defendant's house?
No,
Okay. Now, did you also take a look at some photographs depicting the shoes of Ronald Goldman or his boots at the crime scene?
yes,
I'd like to take a look at People's
And again,
98
if
and
this
People's
is your first time
99.
here, this is
Still
LA
try.
criminologist Dennis Fung, who got literally murdered himself on cross-examination by Barry Scheck, co-founder of the Innocence Project, one of the
All right,
greatest
Mr.
legal
Goldberg,
minds to
break
walk
your
planet Earth and a master of his craft, which is why we're showing this, so that you can see how a master of his craft conducts his examinations. And JKD Buck 76 asked, did OJ ruin the Naked Gun movies? Hell no, he killed it.
Ha ha ha
Take a look at
ha
this
ha Jeff
photograph
ha
of Ronald Goldman shoe.
ha.
briefly, yes.
And
I
did
like
you
those
take
movies.
a look to see whether you could see any evidence of caked on dirt in between the crevices and on the sole of the shoe?
Yes,
Do you see much caked on dirt there?
This is redirect.
I don't see a lot, but there is some present.
Okay, let's take a look at the other shoe.
People's Exhibit 99.
And on this shoe, there is somewhat more caked on dirt than on the other one.
Appears to be yes.
And based upon your observations of the crime scene, and particularly the caged off area, as well as the crime scene photographs of Ronald Goldman shoes, would you necessarily expect to find detectable dust prints or muddy shoe prints at the defendant's
Objection,
walking out
leading.
home.
Overruled.
Not necessarily, no.
Why not?
There
And the like and
Isn't
subscribe
a
poll
whole
is
lot
up.
of
Make sure you hit the like button.
dirt
92
to
of the
track
216 of you here have hit the like button.
around.
So get down there. 200 of you, or however the hell many.
It
I
may
can't
be
do
there,
lawyer
but
math.
then again, it
180
may
of
not
you,
be
110
there. I
of you,
wouldn't
whatever. Get down there, hit the like
necessarily
button, and
expect
take the poll.
either, though.
Okay. Well, what do you mean by not a lot of dirt there? Are you talking about the soles of the shoes?
Yes.
Okay, and particularly, if we can go back to 98. Are you particularly talking about 98?
Yes.
Okay. And did this seem to be an exceptionally muddy area at the time on the 13th? As if it had.
Much of the area was dry, but there were some areas that appeared to be muddy because of the blood.
Okay. So based upon what you see on the soles of Goldman shoes and your observations at the crime scene, would you expect an assailant who went back to the defendant's location and walked on his carpet to track a lot of dirt through that location?
So, this is something everybody says every
I
week.
wouldn't
Is the fire alarm beeping from the
expect there
trial
to be
stream?
a
I have
lot.
never heard this
There
noise that
may-
people
I
complain
would
about every week.
I wouldn't expect.
I have
I
quite
have-
a bit
Either
of
way,
hearing loss.
if there
from
was- if it
having
was
my
there, I
headphones
wouldn't
up
be
way too
surprised.
loud when I worked in
But if it
radio.
wasn't,
So maybe it's
I
in
wouldn't be
the
surprised
range that
either.
I can't
Okay.
hear, but I can't hear any beeping at all, and I never have.
Neither have I. I think I would have noticed something like that. That's kind of odd.
Maybe your house is on fire. You should go check.
I'd like to mark,
Not you.
I'll get to that later.
All right, let's take a break then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief 15-minute recess. Please remember all my admonitions to you. Don't discuss
Luckily,
the case
the
amongst yourselves.
15-minute breaks have
Don't
been
form any
already cut
opinions
out.
about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been
Oh, don't
submitted
interrupt
to
Judge.
you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you. We'll stand in recess for 15.
And everybody, let's do the time warp again.
Just
Here we
before
go.
the break, I wanted to mark two more
No,
exhibits.
Starlight, don't worry. Everybody complains about it every week,
People's
but I have never heard this
195.
mysterious noise.
It's a
They can't be
shot
coming
of
from
the
me.
interior of the Bronco from the outside.
It's more of a whining, narcissistic drone. No, that's Dennis Fung's testimony.
All right, photograph
Yeah.
Bronco interior from exterior.
Or Goldberg's questioning.
And 195B,
Could be that.
195B.
which is a close-in version of the interior of the carpet,
All right.
depicting item 33.
So, Mark, you may proceed.
So showing you first what's been marked is 195A for identification.
I have a little teapot.
You're never too hot, Chandler. For hours.
I said I have a little teapot.
Oh, I thought you said I'm a little too hot. Like, impossible. Impossible.
Well, thank you. Not what I said, but appreciate it nonetheless.
Does this give a perspective shot of the area where the partial shoe print was located?
It,
In other words, does it show the area?
the area is.
Yeah, Marsha
included
got her
in that
hair did
area-
at some
in-
point.
In that photograph, yes.
Where in reference to where the
Oh,
light
the famous perm.
is shining of the
Yeah.
flashlight
Yeah, I don't know
is
when
the area
exactly.
that you found this partial shoe print? In that area or?
In that area, which is left of the
The device is
identification
down,
marker.
boy. I told you I'm not old.
And now if we could
There's,
see
there is no
195B.
down with me.
Oh, Jeff, you're gonna need to get over that.
Is 195B a
It's just
closer
a
in
turn of
shot?
phrase, dirty old man. You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And can you see
Up
the
with mini
area,
skirts,
point
down
out
with
the
hot
area for
pants.
us where you saw what appears to be a partial shoe print?
I protest.
I like that.
You can't see it very well in this photograph, but if you see the rubber mat area in the upper left-hand corner of the rubber, there's some
Ew, Dennis Fung looking in the upper corner of the rubber. Gross.
darkened area, stained area,
Maybe we can use the arrows
In the upper corner of the rubber. That's even
point
worse.
to
a
it.
little bit more to the left, down a little bit. That's the general area.
But it's the pelvic thrust.
Maybe
really
we can
drives me
print that
insane.
out and mark that as 195B, Your Honor.
About 195.
C.
Jim Satala, I am not putting that comment on the screen.
Now, sir, is
God.
there any reason why, if the shoe prints at the Bundy location had faded out, there might be a partial shoe print inside the Bronco?
Foundation, stain.
Yeah, might be.
Is
What
there
are you
any
saying? There
difference
might be a stain,
between
dude?
concrete and carpet in terms of its ability to absorb blood?
The fuck
There
kind
can
of
be,
question is
yeah.
that? All right, this is our first stop the tape moment. Did you just hear that question?
Wait, what did he ask?
Is there any difference between concrete and carpet with regard to its ability to absorb blood?
I would think that common sense would dictate that yes, there's a difference.
Wow, that was my first WTF moment of the day. Yes, there is a difference.
That's from Goldberg?
Yeah, and that may actually be a question that Dennis Fung can answer without equivocating. He may be actually able to answer this question, yes or no.
And then he said
And
that
John-
might be a stain, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
shouldn't you know if
yeah.
it's a stain if you're the criminologist? Would you trust this guy to investigate the murder of your loved one? I mean, seriously?
Yeah, if you say this might be, that is literally the definition of a speculation objection. And
Yeah.
John Gordon says Fung knows he's going to get drilled on recross. Yeah, his soul died about 4 days ago on the stand, or about 6 months ago on our timeline.
Jeff, I see him shivering with anticipation. Except I said it wrong. I have
Yeah,
to
you did.
draw it out. But I don't think we have enough time because we got to get through Goldberg because I know we all hate
do.
Goldberg so much.
You've got to do the anticipation.
What?
Depending on the, if it's thick carpet or close.
Patient thing. What the fuck? I was joking. He can't. He didn't answer that question directly. This mother effer was literally asked, is there a difference between the ability of concrete to absorb blood and carpet to absorb blood? And he's giving a it depends answer.
It depends on what.
No, Lord have mercy.
What kind of carpet absorbs blood the way that concrete does? I'd like to see that kind of carpet. I don't understand. I do not understand.
Let's listen to his
He's lost the
explanation here.
plot at this point.
Carpet in terms of its ability to absorb blood.
There can be, yes.
There
What?
can be.
Depending on the, if it's thick carpet or close carpet, there may be a difference in the ability for the absorptivity, I guess.
And
Absorptivity.
would you
Mitch just said absorptivity.
Is that a word?
It is for him.
Wait, I'm really.
Absorptivity.
That's not a. That can't. That does not sound like the English at all. I have to look that up because it's possible that it's a word, but I really
No,
don't
it's
think it's a
not.
word. I don't think it's a word. I've never heard that before. I think he's really losing it at this point.
He's dead. He's dead to the world.
That's a fun neologism, though. I like it.
He was literally asked, is there a difference and this is by his own side's counsel. This is by the prosecutor. Is asking him, is there a difference between the absorptivity of concrete?
I just have to
and
Google it just in
carpet.
case because it could be a word.
He was
Absorb.
asked- Is the ability of concrete to absorb blood different than the ability of carpet to absorb blood?
It's
and
a word.
He said, "Shut up."
It actually is a word, absorptivity with a P. The property of a body that determines the fraction of incident radiation absorbed by the body. I don't even know.
Oh, fuck off! It is not a word.
I swear it is. If you Google it, it's. But
I'm
like,
not gonna Google it because I don't want Fung to be right.
But but here's the thing. I think it applies to like physics. I don't think it has anything to do. I actually think that he made it up and it accidentally exists.
Well, no,
but it has
see,
to do with like physics and
If
other
it's
things.
with a P, that would be the rate or the ability of something of absorption.
Yeah, I don't think that it applies here. I think he's using it wrong. I mean, it doesn't matter. The way he's answering this question is terrible. That's all that really matters here.
Yeah, I mean that was it. That was the question. Is the ability of concrete to absorb blood different than the ability of carpet to absorb concrete? And he literally said it can be different. It depends on how closely cropped the carpet is.
See, that just shows that this man is like hedging, he's hemming and hawing, like he's not answering questions directly. And it's like what we saw in the Rudolph trial with the witnesses. It's like when you can't answer a really easy question directly, like you know that this witness is in this frame of mind where they are trying their hardest to frame things instead of being direct. And it just comes across so terribly.
Wow.
It's awful. The whole thing is awful.
Let's get back to the absorbativity thing he was talking about here.
Expect more absorption on this carpet if the foot was resting on it for a period of time than someone walking across concrete.
Dude, just say yes.
Stain.
Oh, God.
Would you expect more absorption on this type of carpet than on concrete in general?
Just say yes. Just say yes. He's your lawyer. He's asking you a question. He
I
wants you to say
believe that the carpet would be able to get areas in the crevices of the
What are you
sole
talking about? Just
where
say
concrete
yes.
would not be able to get to, and it would then show up on the concrete.
Oh, my funging hell.
Okay.
Just say
Thank you.
yes, brah.
God, no wonder he was on the stand for 8 freaking days.
And even though his lawyer,
And,
his lawyer wanted
when
a
you were
yes
actually
answer, and
looking
now
at
he's like, "Fuck it, I
that
can't
area
do
with
ask
the naked
follow-up
eye that we just saw in the
Thanks, Bob.
photograph, was it also extremely faint even to the naked eye
It was faint,
and
yes,
faded?
yes.
What, somebody said naked? What? I'm not paying attention.
Would it
We're talking about
surprise
the
you,
naked
sir,
gun?
if by the time the defendant got back to Rockingham, there was nothing there at all?
This form of questioning, I'd ask
Sustain.
to
Rephrase the question.
cease.
If you assume that a assailant got into the Bronco and caused that stain that you just described, would it surprise you if there was nothing left at all by the time he got back to Rockingham?
Overall.
It would not surprise me.
Now, when you were at the Rockingham location, you saw a pair of socks in the master bedroom.
Yes,
And can you tell us whether you collected those between the collection of item 12 and item 14
Yes, I learned that from watching
by
paper
looking at
towel
your crime scene
commercials.
identification checklist?
Absorptivity just seems like he's trying to sound really sciencey and smart and more competent than he actually is. He's lost so much weight. He looks so gaunt. It's like a political prisoner or something. I mean, that suit has grown on him.
it was collected within that time frame. I don't know if it was collected in between those two times, though.
What are the two time frames? What is a time frame for 12?
The time frame is 4:30.
And that was the stain in the foyer.
Yes.
And what is the time for 14?
The time frame for 14 is 4:40.
And that was the stain in the master bathroom.
Yes.
There's some stain. Never
So,
mind.
on cross-examination, you said
I was just going to
that
say
the,
Goldberg is a stain on the legal profession.
Socks appeared out of place. What did you mean by that?
It looked like they didn't belong there.
Were there any shoes there?
Gee,
or
I
other
wonder why.
clothing or pants, as if someone had undressed in all of their clothing in that area?
Not in that area, no.
How do you undress in
Did
all of your
that
clothing?
cause you to believe that it was out of place?
Yes.
And did you phenolphthalein the socks?
No.
Did you do any close visual examination of the socks? when you picked them up?
No, not a close one.
Now, I just want to make sure I understood your testimony. Do you know whether you collected 13 in between 12 and 14? Or,
Oh,
Isn't this the?
oh, I
can
can
answer,
answer. I'm sorry.
This is-
Yeah.
I know it was in that time frame, but I don't specifically recall, or can I tell from the notes if they were
for sure,
for sure?
but it was in that general time frame.
Yes.
And Nicholas Daroff Trial Watch bringing the sexy Krona, 20 sexy Kronas. Give Fung a doll to show him where OJ hurt him. Good thing he didn't ask that question of the victims. They would have had to give you the doll in like 2 pieces.
Oh God,
Too
yeah,
soon?
you'd have to remove
soon?
the head, like I did with my Barbie dolls when I was a little girl. You have to just like pop the heads off.
That literally doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I used to want to make napkin rings out of the torsos. I was kind of a twisted child. My mom thought it was really funny. She still tells that story to this day.
Make napkin rings out of the Barbie doll torsos. I like that.
Oh yeah, I was
knew there a reason
demented.
I liked you.
Well, you know the kind of horror movies I like, so you know. I think we
I
have
did
we have similar taste.
When I was in middle school, I did ask my father if we could please get rid of my bed and let me sleep in a coffin.
Oh wow, that's so goth. I love it.
I did ask him if we could buy a coffin to replace my bed.
Your Mormon father.
It was a resounding no.
I'm trying to picture this. Oh my God, Jeff. That's something. That's way better than my thing, I think.
Not really.
Really? No?
No, I like yours. All right, let's get back to this.
Anyway.
It's like the prosecution
Now,
and,
with
and
respect
the,
to
and the police came
socks,
together and created the
if
ill-fitting
there were
suit
light
society.
specks of blood that had been
Well, Marsha's suit is fitting well.
spattered
It's just
on the
terrible.
socks, would you expect those to flake off?
I wouldn't expect them to, no.
Did you see any blood that appeared to be caked onto the socks at any time?
No.
And if the socks were wet at the time that they were taken off, would you expect any
No.
blood
Hang on,
to
someone-
fall
someone
off?
Send me a voice message at 10:41.
Crusted blood.
If the socks were wet,
Yes, when they were taken off.
I wouldn't expect it, no.
Now, you said that when you saw Detective Furman collect item number 10, that you couldn't recall exactly what technique he used. Do you recall?
That's correct.
And you were asked a series of questions as to whether or not it was even possible to use the scoop technique for that item.
That's correct.
When you repackaged item number 10 on the witness stand, how did you do that?
I used the scoop technique.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to mark a portion of the trial
And that is Peter Neufeld,
transcript,
the co-founder of
as
Innocence
recorded
Project
on
with
the
Barry Scheck.
cameras as 196 for identification.
Is this a transcript or a videotape?
Well, it's a videotape. I thought we showed it to counsel. I thought we did. Okay.
All right. This would be People's 196.
196. And what did you just do in People's 196, this video clip with item number 10?
I held the envelope in my left hand, and using the scissors, I pushed the plastic bag into the coin envelope.
Is that a scoop technique?
Yes.
Wonder if Marcia and Chris used the spooning technique.
I think it was the scoop technique. No?
I don't know.
Scooping or spooning?
Now, getting back to the Bronco, Did you actually conduct any search of the interior of the Bronco on June the 13th?
They were
I
in the
looked
house.
in the
Yeah.
interior from the
I was sleeping
outside, but I
upstairs.
never
Yeah.
went inside the Bronco.
And was it locked when you saw it on the 13th?
Yes.
Now, you said that you saw a stain on the outside of the Bronco,
Okay,
on the door handle,
Yes.
on the
Scooping.
13th.
The scooping
Yes.
technique is like where you have
Did
a
you
piece of
see
evidence on the ground.
Any other
and
stains
you
that you
use a
recall of your
pen
independent
or some sort of
recollection on the
tool,
13th?
And you literally get under it and you scoop it up like
Outside.
that.
On the outside,
That's
no.
the scooping technique to collect evidence.
All right. Now, you were asked a series of questions about Detective Furman's testimony. Do you know what the significance, if any, is of additional stains outside the Bronco?
I do now.
Well, when did you figure that out?
During Mr. Sheck's,
Yeah, this dumbass, the lead investigator on this trial, he wasn't the lead investigator. Apologies. He was the criminologist. He was the lead criminologist for this case. He didn't know until in court time about 2 days ago that there was allegedly blood found on the outside of the Bronco. Which is weirdly similar to the shitty investigation that was done in the Travis Rudolph trial we just finished, where that investigator didn't know there was blood on the rear quarter panel of the car until she was asked about it at trial as well on cross-examination.
God, that investigator.
I'm seeing a pattern with shitty investigations all the way around since the dawn of time, which is about when this trial took place.
From coast to coast, from Florida to
And
California.
what did you gather from Mr. Sheck's cross-examination?
that Detective Furman's
Fucking
credibility
racist.
was
Oh.
what the line of questioning was directed towards.
All right. Did you ever consider modifying
You just
your
collected World
testimony
War
in
II
any way
memorabilia,
to help
Jeff.
out Detective Furman or any
judgy.
other witness with respect to what you saw on the 13th?
No.
What are you doing, Yoda?
Did you see stains on the 14th in the area of the, what we would refer to, I think, as the running board or the lower portion
Well, we'll
of the
never
door
know what
jamb?
Yoda's doing unless
I
people.
did see some stains
wanna see doggo
on the
cam.
14th.
Pretty much.
That's up to you all.
Sir, I'd like to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 1098 for identification.
Mr. Shrek.
Yes.
Branko was talking about a
You said
Shrek
that
hearing.
exhibit was
and I wanted to know what that
washed
was.
out. What did you mean by that?
I really wanted to go like,
The picture didn't show much detail in it, and it appeared that there was extra lighting, or the lighting was adjusted towards the interior of the vehicle, and the white portion of the picture had too much light to show any detail.
And could you actually see any stains in that picture that you were referring to that you saw on the 14th?
I couldn't see them, no.
So how did you place that arrow?
I placed it by memory.
All right. Now, I'd like
Wait,
to...
what? He placed the arrow by memory. Not by
Okay.
referring to notes, not by doing it. Just by memory.
mark as our next...
And speaking of memory, we'll now forever and ever have the memory of Unsung Hero giving a $5 super chat and moving us this much closer to Doggo Cam. Fun find yesterday. Vanderland had some interesting posts on Facebook about how she disliked pro athletes and the money they make going back to 2018.
oh, you don't
face.
say.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Bet she doesn't like him even more now. All righty, we are $87 issue away from Doggo Cam.
Next exhibit, 197 for identification. What appears to be another picture
They're all my women.
of the interior of the Bronco.
Come on, people, don't fight over the mods and all the other women in chat. They're all mine, for I am a polygamist.
Well, Jeff does like to surround himself with lovely ladies.
Obviously.
All right, 197.
Part of what makes Fuck It Friday so great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Intercourse It Friday.
Well, a rose by another name would smell as sweet.
I always have a hard time holding my tongue before the 2-hour mark. I get sweary.
Yeah. Well, I don't like it when women hold their tongues. They gotta use anyway. Never mind. Let's just watch.
Mr. Goldberg.
Thank you.
I'm just pouring
we
my
see that?
tea.
It's SHECK time in a bit. But I'll tell you what time it is. It's time for me to go get some wine. I'll be right back.
Go for it. So now that Jeff's gone,
Let's just see, can we just see one that's the view of the whole photograph first?
doesn't he have a nice
Sir,
mustache?
what does this depict?
Don't tell him I said
Depicts
it.
the same area. It's the running board of the front driver door of the Bronco.
Okay, and now can we zoom in on the running board area?
King Ginger, the drink is already poured.
Can you
I will mute my
maybe go
mic
back
next time.
just
Thank
a
you for
little
making
bit?
me aware.
Okay, that's fine. Now, Mr. Fung, can you see any of
Hello.
the stains depicted there
Nothing
that
happened.
you were referring to that you saw on the 14th?
Yes.
And this photograph that we're looking at now, is this one that you caused to be taken
I
on
already
the 14th?
addressed it.
Yes.
Why?
Maybe
What
using
did you
the
say?
telestrator, we can mark.
Did I mute my
Well,
mic
first
next
of all,
time
how
and I
many
didn't know?
stains do you see?
There are.
Oh, I thought they were talking about me.
Oh no, I think it was me.
Well, that
Depending
glug
on how
glug
you
glug
count
from a whiskey
stains.
bottle or wine bottle is awesome.
I was pouring my tea like right in front of my mic, so
three,
I get
four.
it.
All right, let's see if we can mark all 4 of them.
Okay,
Yeah, I happen to know that's not
Up.
true.
and to your left,
Literally not true.
right there, there's 2 of them there.
All right, let's just have one mark for the
Okay.
2 of, or let's circle the 2 of those. Now, sir, when the door is closed, if you know, is it possible to see those 2?
I don't believe it's possible to see those when the door's closed.
All right, now let's mark.
Again, mind you, this is a guy who allegedly slit a woman's throat so deeply from the front that it caused scratch marks in her spinal column, like literally damn near severed her head, and then took out another dude with lots of stabbing motions. We won't play the video, don't worry, because I can't find it that quickly. But this is the kind of blood stains they find. One of these on the car, one of these on the center console is smeared one over there. That's all they find. And some of them they found 2 weeks after initially looking in that particular place, like the blood drop on the back gate of the of Nicole Brown Simpson's house. It wasn't there in pictures, and then 2 weeks later, it is suddenly there.
the next stain.
From that circle there, if you go in the 7 o'clock direction,
That's fishy.
MG
There's a
law, it's
small
not,
blip
like, just after 2 hours, they just give
right
zero
there.
fucks about anything.
and it's to the left of that.
Well, you seem to be giving zero fucks this morning because
Yes.
you're saying the F word before the
So
2-hour mark.
these would be 3 of the 4 stains that you're referring to.
You can say it, just
Yes.
not
And
continuously.
what
and
about
as a
the
major
one that we
part of
just
your
marked that's
presentation.
below the 2 stains?
Okay, that's fair. I'm
Is it
learning.
possible to see that when the door is closed?
Yes.
Now let's go to the 4th stain.
The 4th area is back towards the right and down, and there's a smear that's fairly elongated along that ridge.
What?
That's the general area.
Can we print out this document?
I'm
But by
feeling
the way, if
so
you see me
bougie.
looking down, I'm just sending messages in chat. I am paying attention to the stream.
I'm just drinking my Georgian wine.
Can we mark this
and eating
197A,
my
Your Honor?
caviar.
197A.
Of course I do. Of course I do, Rose. We love all.
Sir,
the
were
ladies.
any of these stains that you tested later on in July?
Yes.
Which one?
The circle, the stain circle to the bottom left is the one I believe I tested with phenolphthalein.
Barry Scheck, I'm with you.
Okay.
I love how he's like
And
tilting his
what
head.
about the other two then were not tested
If he
in
was
July?
a dog, he'd be going.
No.
What?
What? Perhaps we can put,
Hold on, Goldberg.
One that,
maybe we can put the date of July 790. Can you write that 794?
I'm here
You're
for
talking about
Barry.
the stain that you said was in the 7 o'clock
Waiting for
position
Barry.
from
Yes.
the first
That
stain
one
you
there.
marked.
what date, 7?
94.
Is that the beeping noise people are talking about?
Perhaps we can
Oh,
mark
that must
this
be it.
as People's
I wonder what that is.
197B.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times.
Yes, 197B.
I don't think it's like a smoke detector or something. It sounds like something technological.
What day of testimony is this for him? I have no idea. I lost track so long ago.
5? I think it's 5.
It's probably closer to 6 or.
We're
7,
definitely
'cause
more than halfway.
Oh, now we're way over halfway.
Yeah.
And this is probably 6 or 7.
By the way, I noticed a really great chat where somebody said there's a Bronco in their neighborhood that has a license plate that says not OJ. I don't know who said that,
Nice.
but I love that. That's really good.
Nice.
I'd like to mark as 198, People's 198, an exhibit that's entitled Analyzed Evidence Report, dated 7/7/94.
All right, analyze evidence report.
Are you offering this? All right, I'd ask the whole document to be offered. Is characterizing it, it's dated as 7/7/94.
How's your cocktail? Oh wait, you finished it. How's the wine?
It's
would you show
amazing.
Mr.
It's
Scheck
an
the
amazing
item?
wine from Georgia. My friend owns a vineyard in Georgia, and he sells Georgian wine here in Korea.
Oh, are you
So
going to bring that to
amazingly
Matsuri?
Probably not.
Okay. I thought you talked about bringing some of that to Matsuri. I guess I was wrong.
I'm bringing some whiskey. Like, wine can explode on a plane because of the pressure changes.
Oh, really? Well, you don't want that. That makes sense with the cork and everything. Never thought of that. I could have sworn you were like, I'm going to bring this Georgian wine to Matsuri.
No, I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
Korean whiskey is what I was going to
Yes, you
bring.
may.
well, as long as you bring your wonderful self.
Look at People's 198 for identification. Tell us what that is.
This is a analyzed evidence report that I wrote concerning the
Unhung
Section
hero,
of,
Fung It Friday, Chandler. Fung
It Friday. Sure,
blood on
sure.
the exterior portion of the Bronco.
Okay, do you know which date it was that you did the phenolphthalein tests on the Bronco
Was
that are
the
related in this report?
on the 6th.
Okay. Now, sir, is it your practice? It was what? What was the date of the tests?
According
don't
to this, it was July 6th.
Okay. Now, do you have an independent recollection of that, or is it just the report?
And
That's
Timothy
the
Schultz
report.
says, holy crap,
Right.
I've seen the photos
Now,
of Nicole Simpson. The gash
Is
was,
it always
was-
your practice when you do a
the gash from
phenolphthalein
the
test
was as big as my
to write an
fist,
analyzed
not
evidence
not very much
report
holding
the
her
same
head on.
day?
Yeah,
No,
Yep.
really.
Is it always your practice
Pretty
to
brutal.
write it the same week necessarily?
not necessarily.
Thank you for
is
the
it
super
always
chats.
your practice
We
to
moved
write
a
an
little bit
analyzed
closer
evidence
to
report when you do a
Doggo Cam.
phenolphthalein test?
No, it is not.
In fact, did you do some, were some phenolphthalein tests done on the Bronco on the 13th, on the brake pedals in your presence?
On the 14th,
On the 14th, excuse me.
yes,
And who did that?
that was done by criminalist Mazzola.
And is that the same phenolphthalein test that you described to us earlier in your testimony?
Yes,
CHD,
What
she
were the
already did it.
results
This
of the
is the new hair.
phenolphthalein tests on the brake
She went
pedals?
from a crazy, like, ramen
The-
looking hair to this straight
they came
thing.
back positive for the presence of blood.
And how many pedals did she do?
She did all three.
Did you or criminalist Mazzola
I like to think that her hairstylist was in cahoots with
take
the
any
defense.
swatches from those brake pedals?
I don't know why, but
No.
it's just kind of a fun conspiracy theory. I
So you
have.
did not collect any evidence on those?
That's correct.
Is it your practice to always collect evidence when you get a positive phenolphthalein result?
No,
Damn mosquito in here. Fuck off.
Now,
How did a
did you
mosquito
also
get in your
do
place?
some
That's crazy.
phenolphthalein testing
I think I have
Don't
a
you-
hole in my screen. 'Cause I have
on
a
Don't you
a
live on, like,
Bentley
The
vehicle?
30th floor or something? Aren't you really
Yes.
high up?
At this
18.
time, I'd like to mark as People's 190.
Oh my God, we're
Nine
gonna get
for
to Barry Scheck in a
identification.
minute. Don't worry, people. Hang tight.
Another analyzed evidence report on a black Bentley.
I'm
And
just
by a
holding
minute, I mean about 30 of them.
199.
on. Oh God. Okay, well,
That's
the time
okay.
will pass.
I've got wine and caviar to keep me company.
You have caviar. Oh, I'm really jealous. I don't think I could do caviar for breakfast, but what do you have in your caviar
So
with?
directing your attention to People's
With an
199.
unsalted cracker and cream cheese.
It's a 2-page document.
Oh, that looks lovely.
For identification, what is that?
this is
You
a
always have the best snacks.
analyzed evidence report that I wrote concerning the search for blood in the black Bentley.
When did you first see the black Bentley?
Like on Fung It Friday, you were
First
talking about
saw
like
the
smoked
Bentley
duck
on-
and all these delicious things.
June 13th.
Yeah, the
And
caviar
when
is the
did you
result of
actually
having
do the
lots of Russian
phenolphthalein
friends.
testing that's related in the report?
It's good to know Russians,
That
I
was
guess.
They're in the
done on
fishing
June
industry.
30th.
We used to do
When did you
caviar
write
on
the report?
I wrote
latkes.
the report on
Hanukkah.
October
Yeah.
6th.
And did the report indicate that in the various areas that you tested for blood that you did not find any?
Yes,
Right. So is this consistent with your custom and your practice that you do not necessarily write an analyzed evidence report contemporaneously or immediately after the phenolphthalein testing?
that's correct.
Your Honor, could we approach for one moment before I ask my next
Yes,
few
for
questions?
reporter, please.
I like the word
Snacks.
fork for some reason.
All right, thank you, counsel. Mr. Goldberg, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, why is it your
know if I have a favorite
practice, when you're collecting stains, such as in the Bronco, to take representative samples and not collect everything?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, okay, never mind.
What'd you forget?
That is the way I was trained to do my crime scene analysis or investigations.
Absorbativity-ish.
We collect the best stains that we feel are appropriate for analysis.
Doesn't he look like the guy that would like literally have like a
And-
stain collection in his house?
It would be almost impossible to collect every stain and not bog down the entire system.
Okay.
Fork It Friday.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to refer back to our Bronco
Well,
board.
this is not sturgeon caviar.
And ask the witness some questions about that.
Sturgeon caviar is hundreds,
Now,
if
sir-
not thousands of dollars an ounce. This is just your
All right, this is
cheap
People's
old average
Exhibit.
everyday salmon caviar.
Which
I've never tried salmon caviar. The only caviar that I've tried is like the black caviar.
is 26.
We're talking about bougie. Hey. Beluga caviar. That ain't cheap.
Yeah, I had it at a party. pretty
Proceed,
good.
Mr. Farrell.
I love that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Christian Slater hogs the caviar. He's like bogarting the caviar and he eats all the caviar.
I've never seen the show.
Oh, really?
And 72. And I'd like to
I'm a
mark
big fan.
a vehicle search checklist
All right, that'll be People's 200.
for, actually, it's entitled Vehicle Search Notes.
Vehicle search notes. How many pages, Mr. Goldberg?
I'm not bougie.
This is 6 pages.
6
You are
pages.
if you're
Thank
eating
you.
beluga caviar.
I tried it
Mr.
one
Scheck, you're familiar with
time.
that?
Once.
Well, it's interesting. It's like here it's called salmon caviar. Where I came from, salmon eggs were called bait.
Sir, directing your attention to the
Like salmon roe.
exhibit that we put up
That's
here.
exactly what it is. Roe is eggs.
All right, this is People's is good. What, Mr. Goldberg?
This is People's 172
All right.
for identification. Sir, directing your attention to the photograph that has the call out lines 31 and 30 on it.
Yes.
Does that depict the way that the console looked when you saw it
Yes.
on the 14th?
Yes, it does.
And was it possible for you to see the area where stain 305 is located when you saw it on the 14th?
I don't recall if I was able to see that area or not that day.
Is the way that the console is situated such that it would be difficult for you to see that stain?
Oh, well.
Yes.
It was
Why's
kind of
that?
leading though.
The stain is in a lower position. It's towards the back on a corner.
Sorry. Okay, now, do the various stains that are depicted on this exhibit represent every single stain that was in the Bronco that you saw on the 14th?
No.
These are just a selected portion of the stains.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've actually never paid for caviar either. Like it's all my Russian friends give it to me for free.
Maybe we could just move the board down so that the jurors could look at the photo that has 31 and 30.
Just the other day, one of my Russian
also
friends
the
gave me
photo
these
that has
giant
305
sea
in it.
scallops that are about this
Yes.
big around and about an inch thick for free. Like 5 pounds of them. Holy crap! Russians that work in fishing industries are a great source of free seafood.
Yeah, some people really hate seafood. I love seafood.
All right, Mr. Fairlow, after you finish with that, would you briefly exhibit it to our audience?
But I haven't had a lot of seafood because I was a vegetarian until I was 21, and there are so many things I have not tried.
Mr. Goldberg?
Lame.
What? Which part?
Being a vegetarian until 21.
I mean, I stopped. I love steak. I love burgers. I love meats. I came around. My mom was a vegetarian. She didn't know how to cook anything, so I was just like,
Thank you,
okay. It was a choice. But yeah, I've never had scallops.
Mr. Goldberg?
I mean, I don't know. It's pretty good. It could be overrated.
Thank you, Mr. Fairlow.
I've got more frozen seafood in the fridge from different Russian friends. Now, come on. Hurry up so we can get back to Fung. This is painful. See if we got any super chats to read. Oh, we have a few.
And the stains that you looked at for Miss Clark in July,
No, we don't.
were
I lied.
those visible from the
We have no
exterior?
super chats. Hint, hint, hint.
One I remember was visible from the exterior.
Like $75 away from Doggo Cam. So
some
looks
of
like
the
it's not going
others
to happen
that-
today.
We saw today were not.
Okay, but at least one was.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about trace evidence or transfer evidence. And can you start by telling us what transfer evidence is?
Transfer evidence is evidence that is exchanged between one surface to another when they come in contact with one another. One will leave in theory anyway. Trace evidence on the other, and the other will leave the trace evidence on the one.
Looks like that guy that
Now,
faked
can
knowing sign
transfer
language.
evidence occur without direct contact?
And what's his name's
It can
funeral?
occur, but it's rare,
Not
Generally
Desmond
speaking.
Tutu.
generally
I'm
speaking.
not sure if I know what you're talking about.
Now, suppose hypothetically that the coroners back at the
No.
Bundy crime scene, the coroner's white sheet was placed down over the
What?
blanket that had been on Nicole.
Wait. Sorry to pause just for something that literally has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I was talking about he seems like the fake sign language interpreter at Nelson Mandela's funeral. You're not aware of this?
No, I'm not.
There was a guy at Nelson Mandela's funeral that was supposed to be the sign language interpreter that knew nothing about sign language. He stood up there on the podium in front of the entire fucking world during Nelson Mandela's funeral and made bullshit sign language the entire time.
Oh God, that's hilarious. I've seen another incident of that. There was a woman who did that at some hearing in Florida where there was like a
Yes.
murder case. I've seen that. I did not know that it was at Nelson Mandela's funeral. But wait, did Nelson Mandela die? And shall we talk about the Mandela effect, or would that take up too much time?
Well, he definitely died this time. Because that was where the Mandela effect thing came to be, when people were like, wait a minute, I thought he was already dead.
That video is so freaking funny of the woman. I'd love to see the one from Nelson Mandela, but I love how the guy was just like, yep, we didn't vet her properly. And it was like, well, she didn't get paid. So, like we just, next time, just get a real one.
This is different. This wasn't just like some random Florida hearing. This was the funeral for Nelson Mandela.
How did they let that just get by? I mean, I don't understand. Nobody was vetting this person. They didn't have like a... It's ridiculous.
Like literally, you go into YouTube and you type Mandela funeral, and the first thing that comes up is not service or songs or full or speeches. The first thing that comes up is sign language interpreter.
Oh God, how did I miss this? Next time they should hire Sadie Beecham. We all know she's great at doing sign language.
All right. Sorry to digress here, people. We'll get to Dennis Fung, I swear. But just for Chandler and the other edification of people that don't know what the hell I'm talking about,
Take a
this
little
is the
break from
fake
Goldberg.
sign language interpreter.
Oh God, okay, I have to see
Mandela's
this.
funeral.
This is going to be really funny.
Flesh, in whose hands are the souls of the living and the dead. Receive
What is he doing?
in your great loving kindness the soul of Nelson Rolihlahla
He's doing the
Mandela,
same thing over and over
who
again.
has been gathered unto his people. Remember him for the righteousness which he has done. Remember, O Lord, how he exemplified
This is so obviously
the
fake.
finest
What is he
qualities
doing?
of your servant Joseph.
Oh my
About
God.
whose great leadership,
Oh my God.
spirit, and powers of forgiveness.
Yeah, anyway.
Macarena. It's like, hey, I'm just like Macarena. That's the only reference I'm thinking. Wow. And nobody noticed? Nobody took this guy
No.
aside? They just let him do his thing? Wow.
Pretty much.
That's kind of him. So what happened after? I guess I'll Google it.
They had a lot of explaining to do after, but yeah, that was a thing.
Boy, wow. That's pretty epic.
Yeah, it was just like, what the
And so what was his motivation? He just wanted to be a part of this. I don't understand. It's such an
The
odd...
original man of a few words, says Mortimer Drake.
It's like the same thing over. How did people not notice
and
that?
it was not even good fake sign language.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. That's really good.
And there we go. The super chat just moved us one step closer.
Ooh,
There we go.
from
But
Caligula.
yeah, all right. We are halfway through our stream. We're less than halfway to Doggo Cam, but we are all the way to giving an update on the like and subscribe poll. 266 of your 199 likes. Please hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. This is what we do once a week. Chandler, Remington, and I, we get together. We do the OJ Simpson trial for two reasons. One, to let you see how some of the masters of their profession on the defense wield their craft. How they make we've gone through F. Lee Bailey. We're in the middle of BARRY SCHECK now, and when it's done, I have no idea what I'll do. I'll probably just go through the whole entire trial just because. So it's not to change anybody's mind. This was nearly 30 years ago. Everybody's made up their mind whether he's guilty or innocent, whether he had something to do with it or whether he didn't. If you change your mind because of this, hey, that's up to you one way or the other. But that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of it is just to see some amazing lawyering contrasted with some crap lawyering. And also just to have a little bit of fun on Thursday, just to relax, have some mindless, just brain dead fun. So that's why we're here. So with that, how are we doing on the like and subscribe poll? 7% of you said the like and subscribe button was smashed because darting it all, of course I did. And 19% of you said SHECK, yes I did. 22% of you said Ito was already done. And 53% of you said Fung, yes. All right, sorry, that was the lame poll. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. Oh, wait a minute. We have another super chat right under the wire. 2 of them as a matter of fact. 3 of them as a matter of fact. Oh my God, the super chats. I can't stop them all. They're just pouring in. All 3 of them flux.
Many.
Lord, all of Canada is on fire and the smoke is making it shitty out. Come on,
no.
Canada. I left the wildfires of Cali for a reason. Yeah, that's the entire reason that millions of acres are going up in flames and people are being homeless. Is just to piss off you, Flux. That's just all done to annoy you.
You're in Canada? Since when?
No, she's close enough though. I mean, like,
I'm
haven't you seen
confused.
pictures out of New York? New York is just totally smothered in smoke right now from the Canadian fires.
I guess I haven't really been paying attention to the news.
Yeah, that's some pretty big news. It's news here in Korea. just Google New York and hit news and see what happens.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, I was here for the wildfires. We had to cancel my finals.
No, these are fires.
They're just fires.
No, these are like historically unprecedented fires.
Yeah, it blocks out the sun. It makes everything all orange. It looks apocalyptic. I mean, I've gone through a couple of them.
You should do that right now. Like, just go to Google and type New York fire news, and look at the pictures. It's pretty devastating. Caligula, $11. Nelson Mandela died in our original timeline before the CERN super collider pushed us into the timeline where he died again. Pretty much. That's exactly what happened.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow, no, I have not seen this. I was not aware of this, but it looks exactly like we had to cancel my finals because I went on a campus and it was like, ash was hitting me in the face when we had wildfires in California. So that was insane. I mean,
and Mortimer Duke, we already read Mortimer Duke's Man of the Original Man, a few words. Marms, good to see you, Marms. Always love some Marms. Maybe some chubby bulldogs will cheer poor Fung up. Maybe.
I do like when the dogs watch the trial. That's like when they're sitting and they're like facing, the the screen.
They're less active than they were an hour ago when we started. So
Well, they're not very active to begin with. I love them, but they're little hams. They just sit.
Yeah.
They don't really move.
If you want the active bulldogs, you got to come in strong with the super chats at the beginning.
Yeah. Totally.
Unhung Hero, blame Canada, blame Canada. Yeah. And Marv White again. It's smoked out in Middle Virginia. I'm in the middle of Virginia. Really? Wow.
Wow, looks like Blade Runner. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, I've been through it. I mean, Flux and I both. Any Californian will remember. It's crazy, especially when they were in Malibu. God,
Malibu Barbie for the win.
That's wild. It's global warming.
Yeah, it's really warm in some places. All right, let's get back to Fung. That was our midstream griftathon. We'll update all the Vice Lawraxes and Lawrax I. Is that what we have to do? I don't know. The Vice Lawrax as well as Doggo Cam. Just for the record, we're about halfway to Doggo Cam. Rick Nikita says fish fingers and custard. Nice Doctor Who reference there. All righty, let's do it, ladies and germs.
And then on top of that, there was a plastic sheet that was put down, and that occurred before Ron Goldman was put on the plastic sheet. Would you expect, given that hypothetical, there to be any transfer evidence from the blanket to Ron Goldman?
Halfway there.
No.
And is that because they weren't in direct contact?
Oh, I'm
correct.
praying for Goldberg to be done as soon as possible.
Now, if hypothetically there were saliva from the defendant that had been dried, on the white blanket, could that saliva somehow float down the entire
Float?
crime scene and hit the red
How
gate
does
and turn
saliva
red?
float?
Floating saliva.
No.
That's bizarre.
Retard.
Would you expect that that saliva or any biological material would contaminate the stains that you and Miss Mazzola collected along the trail?
Given your hypothetical, no.
And is there any scientific explanation as to how it conceivably could contaminate the trail stains,
Calls for speculation.
not finished, but not the substrate controls or the areas from which the substrate controls were taken?
No foundation beyond this
Sustained.
witness's expertise.
Sir, what is the purpose of the substrate controls again?
The substrate control is mainly used to detect if there is some form of contamination present on the substrate. It's also used to test or detect whether our instruments and materials we're using to collect the samples are
He just sounds like he
Clean
doesn't know what the hell he's
and
talking about.
not contaminated.
And in the case of the items along the trail, did you or Miss Mazzola take the substrate controls from an area that was immediately next to the stain itself?
Yes.
Now, when you say that one thing that substrate controls can help you out with is looking for contamination, what do you mean by contamination?
Contamination in
Like
that regard
contamination?
would be something present that would affect the conclusions of an analysis.
In other words, in the case of biological evidence, some other biological material.
Yes.
Right.
I got your biological material
Now, of the
right
500
here.
or so crime scenes that you've processed over your career or investigated over your career, approximately what percentage would you say were done with criminalist ones?
What?
Maybe 20%.
Have you found there to be any problem with the LAPD using criminalist ones at crime scenes?
No.
Okay, I think they're talking about like novice.
Now, in the
rookie-
area
rookie
of crime scene
criminologists,
processing,
like Miss
are
Mazzola.
the ideals as contained in the forensic texts and elsewhere ever met?
It's almost impossible to do a perfect crime scene.
And
The perfect
in,
crime.
coming to that conclusion, did you also consider the views of Dr. DeForest, Ganslin, and Lee in their book, Forensic Science and Introduction to Criminalistics?
Yes.
Is there any single right way to process a crime scene or do
Well, that's
something
not
such as
good,
collecting
John Gary.
stains?
There are basic principles that one follows, but there's no one correct way to process a crime scene.
And did you also consider their text, Forensic Science and Introduction to Criminalistics, in rendering that opinion?
Yes.
Counsel, directing your attention to page 415, and I'd like to approach the witness if I might, just to show him what I'm going to look at.
You may. Mr. Sheck, do you have the passage?
And sir, did they write in their book that there are no hard and fast rules for successful, excuse me, let me start one sentence earlier. Throughout this book, we have attempted to point out that every crime scene is unique and that there is no single right way to process the crime scenes. Each scene must be evaluated individually. There are no hard and fast rules for successful crime scene processing. Did you consider that?
Yes.
And did you also consider their statement Of course, perfection in this or any other human endeavor is never achieved. It is probable that no crime scene has ever been processed in such a way that hindsight would not allow someone else to criticize the work at a later date.
Oh, don't
Did you
criticize
consider
him.
that?
It makes him
Yes.
feel bad.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Now, with respect to the work that you and criminalist Mazzola performed at Rockingham, did you or did she do anything in your presence that could cause the defendant's blood to appear on the items of evidence that you collected
Yeah, I
on the
planted
trail that went from the Bronco
You think
to
he
the door
planted it?
or back?
Doesn't seem like he takes initiative, really.
This is compound.
Did you do anything, sir, or
No, I didn't
criminalist
do
Mazzola
anything
in
at
your
all.
presence do anything that could cause the defendant's blood to be on that trail?
Check also because it's calling for this witness's conclusions of that evidence. that
Right, that's still
there's no
compound.
foundation.
I'll break it down. Did
Bring
you
it
do
on
anything?
down. Make a little love.
No.
Did criminalist Mazzola do anything in your presence?
Objection.
Bring it on down.
To do anything about
Make a
what?
little love.
Reference to the
Overruled.
question you sustained.
Overruled.
objection.
Did
Get over
criminalist
rule check.
Mazzola do anything in your presence that could cause the defendant's blood to show up on that trail?
In your presence.
I think I said that.
Yes.
No.
And sir, did you do anything that could have caused the defendant's blood to show up in the Bronco?
He means
No.
did you plant evidence?
Did you do anything which could have caused Nicole Simpson's blood to show up in the Bronco
No.
or Ron Goldman's?
No.
Did criminalist Mazzola do anything which could have caused the defendant's blood to show up in the Bronco in your presence,
No.
or Nicole Simpson's,
No.
or Ron Goldman's?
No.
Thanks, Lex.
Did you do anything, sir, at the Bundy crime scene that could have caused the defendant's blood to show up along the trail and on the rear gate,
Yeah, I murdered him. I mean,
No.
no.
or criminalist Mazzola in your presence?
No.
And sir, did you do anything, or did you do anything that could have caused the defendant's hair and a fiber from the Bronco
No, it's
to
not
show up on the knit
Webster's
cap?
No.
Did criminalist Mazzola do anything to cause that in your presence?
To strike all of this. Last two questions. There's
On what basis?
no foundation for this witness as to any of this.
Sidebar.
When you're feeling low on energy,
Ladies and
bite
gentlemen.
into the delicious, satisfying taste of a sidebar. This stream
Well,
brought to
let's
you
take
by
a brief break to switch
Sidebar.
gears. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to take a brief break because we're going to switch back into recross-examination. I'm just going to take a brief break for the lawyers so they can organize their exhibits and we get started again. So let me ask you to step back in the jury room. We should be starting in about another 5
Get
to
out.
10 minutes. All right, Mr. Fung, you can step down.
Are we done? With gold?
Ladies and germs, it's
Katie?
check time.
Yes, finally! I'm so happy. We did it.
we got through that horrific redirect.
We made it through.
Holy God, that was painful. And now he's gonna the refungening shall commence.
Finally. That was rough, Jeff. That was like, we went through, wait, what, how many episodes of this? Like, just Goldberg all over. Oh, man.
All righty.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Shack time. Love it.
Let's get ready to shekel.
Toss a shekel to your Lorax if you want.
You should.
We're close to doggo camp.
Not
Just
even.
suggesting.
We're
Somebody
only
was
halfway there.
somebody in chat was said something like, Chansley, don't flatter yourself. We're here for the Bulldogs. I'm like, well, you put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right, we got Sheck. I'm really happy.
We are back to Sheck. We are $50 away from Doggo Camel, 60-ish. Yeah. Somewhere in there in that neighborhood. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's demon time.
Oh my God, John, Gary.
Nice.
John. Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
Drawn from the courtroom. Mr. Cochran, you had a comment?
Well, that's your problem.
I was just
Legendary
going to
Racing.
ask the court again, in light of
It's because of you there are no dogs today. Go think about what you've done. Go sit in the corner.
Oh, but
light of
Godsey
our,
deserves
last
super
sidebar, I was going to ask the
chats.
court to
True.
consider a limiting instruction to the jury, because I think that the court's interpretation may not be theirs in light of the questions that counsel's indicated.
This is not Barry Scheck, in case you were wondering.
Thanks
is
for
Johnny
clarifying, Jeff. I think everybody was a little confused. We needed. Did something happen to? Did he get a really really deep tan?
Just in case you were wondering.
Just in case.
Yeah, actually, this is him making a motion to limit testimony and limit evidence.
Okay, he was not considering any test results, but I think that a fair reading of those questions would be that he did consider test results when he talks about Ron Goldman's blood in the Bronco, and he talks about Nicole Brown Simpson's blood in the Bronco. That's an unfair inference. It assumes facts not in evidence, in addition to everything else. It seems to me that a limiting instruction might be in order if that was in the nature of like a hypothetical question. When the court proposed what we think would be an appropriate question, counsel indicated he had no further questions. And so he should either ask the questions that as you phrase it, or they should be stricken, or the jury should be given some limiting instruction with regard to those last series of questions, it seems to me, Your Honor.
Such as?
Well, I think that may I have just a second?
Maybe
With regard to-
a response, Your Honor, before the court considers an admonition?
Well, give me just a second.
What's he doing?
Karate chop hands.
Gesticulating wildly.
Don't gesticulate, you'll go blind.
I think that, to conclude, I think there's clearly an implication that this witness has knowledge of test results, which counsel says he wasn't including in his question. And I think unless the court does something to clear that up, it would be very unfair for the defendant in that regard. And so I think that the question you proposed at the end of the sidebar, that did he do anything to contaminate these samples? Nobody could object to that question, but that's not the question he asked. And so either ask that question.
But wasn't that the import of that whole line of questions?
No, I don't think so. No, because he asked about samples, Your Honor. He asked about results. The import was he talked about results that this jury could absolutely infer because he's talking about results, and that's the part that's unfair. And so I would ask the court to either figure a way to limit it or strike that and let counsel ask the appropriate questions, or strike the whole line of questions. I mean, I think that, obviously that's why we approached the sidebar to address that. And Your Honor specified how you thought the question should be asked. Then you saw fit not to ask that question because primarily he wanted to ask his questions. The reason he wanted to ask his questions is because it leads a reasonable juror to that conclusion, which is totally unfair and unfounded. And so we'd ask the court to correct that misperception.
People?
Okay, I'll go.
This is my first time seeing Cochran speak.
Your Honor, all Mr. Goldberg did was address this witness with respect to what he did, if anything. And that's talking about his actions and his handling of the crime scene, which we know is hotly contested.
Mazzola in his presence.
Or Ms. Mazzola in his presence, which is an appropriate question based on what he observed. But I would remind the court, well, first of all, did he do anything? That part of the question simply directs the witness's attention to his actions, whether he appropriately handled the crime scene to avoid contamination and to keep everything maintain the integrity of the evidence. There's no problem with that. And then further, with respect to cause this kind of result is simply a hypothetical. But I would also remind the court that the defense went extensively into hypotheticals concerning how Bronco fibers could have been deposited on the cap and how the defendant's hair could have been deposited on the cap or on Ron Goldman and how they could have been transferred as a result of this blanket that somehow is as bizarre as this theory seems, and I can't believe any reasonable juror will ever buy it. Nevertheless, the defense has attempted to sell to this jury through their hypotheticals that this blanket was waved around the scene like a matador would in an arena, and that somehow particles flew off of that blanket and magically landed one on Ron Goldman and another on the cap. And I mean, kind of crazy stuff, but that's what they've been trying to do. And they've been doing it repeatedly, specifically with respect to the defendant's hair could have been on the blanket, the broncho fibers could have been on the blanket, and they could have wound up here and they could have wound up there because of this, that, and the other. So the defense has done that very thing. Now, when we come back and in the most mild and muted form, come back with a hypothetical concerning this witness's handling of the crime scene collection procedures used, they're screaming bloody murder, and it's not appropriate. They don't have the right to. Bad choice of words.
Yes.
That's exactly what we have here. As a matter of fact, though, what Mr. Goldberg asked of the witness is, did you do anything? What have you done in terms of this crime scene? And it goes to the very heart of the matter. The defense is claiming that all of this contamination, quote unquote, occurred as a result of what Mr. Fung did or didn't do. He's addressing the matter head on. I did nothing to cause the contamination. And by way of hypothetical, by way of example, to cause this blood to be here or some blood to be there. I think that we are really, after the defense has laid out these results in their own hypotheticals, for them to complain that we have answered the hypotheticals that they have raised is absurd. Cat's out of the bag, so to speak, if you will. And these results are going to come in eventually, not so eventually, actually, with the forthcoming witnesses. It's going to happen. You know why? I don't even know why we're arguing about this right now, because the thrust of the question is what he did and how he collected the evidence at the crime scene. There's nothing improper in the questioning, and there's no misleading evidence misleading information in it. You know, counsel started it, and we've answered it. This seems to happen repeatedly. You know, the defense opens the door and sticks their foot through, and then they get upset, you know, when we step on their toes and say, hey, we have a response. We have a response. They have tried to, by way of hypothetical, mislead the jury and confuse them and give them these wild and outlandish theories as to how evidence came to be where it is, and we're debunking it. And that's what we have to do. That's our job.
Are you, though?
And now they're complaining about it, but there's nothing improper in the manner of questioning that was done. I don't even understand what the objection is.
Why did you talk so long
Mr.
about
Cochran's
it?
making noises behind me, Your Honor.
All right, I'd like to explain it for you, Your Honor. He started talking about debunking theories, and it wasn't us, Your Honor, who were talking
was
about
weird.
we see mystery shadows when gloves appear on
It was behind
your
gun
back.
sheets. It's not us who's misleading anybody. Let me just get to the issue here. The issue is, if this was an
You know he was doing
appropriate
that.
hypothetical, then perhaps we wouldn't be objecting. What they did was they went too far, Your Honor. They didn't just ask about contamination, which Mr. Sheck did a masterful job in talking about contamination. They don't like the fact
What about
the
the
scene was all
earrings, though?
contaminated or could have been. Reasonable people could infer that. So if they wanted to ask Mr. Fung, Your Honor, whether or not he did anything that would cause a contamination, that's appropriate. That's what you told him. But they went further. He asked questions that were like non sequiturs about saliva that would end up going from one place to the other, which we didn't bother objecting because it seemed so bizarre. We didn't object to that.
Did you see the reaction from the jury?
Yeah, they didn't know what he was talking about either. And that I didn't, so we didn't object to that. But when he talked specifically about hair of the defendants, which they're not going to have.
Was Ida just
from that
gossiping with
standpoint,
him
Your
about
Honor,
how the
when
jury
they
reacted?
talk
That's so
about,
funny.
Blood of various people. And those
In
are
front of Sheck?
specific
Or, I mean, in front of
results
Goldberg.
which this witness should not be giving, Your Honor. And the fact, and it doesn't cure it for Ms. Clark to say, well, that's going to come in. I mean, that's her dream. It may come in someday. The question is, Your Honor, what's the appropriate way of handling this? And the fact that they've been wounded on cross-examination does not allow them to ask improper questions at the end and try to end the big flourish. And that's
They
what,
were
that's what we saw here.
eviscerated.
And when you told him how to ask the question, he went back to his seat and chose to ask, I have no further questions, because he didn't want to ask it the right way. So all we're trying to do is let's take the record clean. Let's make it fair and not be prejudicial to this defendant, even though the jurors probably weren't listening by this point. But I can't assume that. I've got to get the record the way it should be, Your Honor. And that's why we're very serious about this and ask you to clean that record up.
All right, thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheck, how much time do you need to get geared up and get your videotapes ready to roll? 10 minutes?
It's the only reason I say that is I'm sure I won't finish this afternoon.
Oh, I know you won't finish this afternoon, but let's assume that you got 10 minutes to get your tapes together.
Yeah, I have 10 minutes to go to 4:30 is no problem.
Okay, all right. No, we're going to take about 10 minutes so I can get rid of a few things, and then we'll start at
That's because he
4:40
knew
or
what he was
so.
talking about, and she had no clue.
And some of the jurors in our lineup have doctor's appointments, so we may only get to 3 of them today. Okay. No, you're taking away from Mr. Sheck's time to prepare.
No, I won't. It's about the presence of the defendant at the hearing. at the appropriate time. If you ask about a case, I want to share something.
All right, well, share it with me when we take our 10-minute break.
Fine.
All right, thank you. Get on the witness stand now for recross examination by Mr. Sheck. Mr. Sheck, you may begin your recross examination.
On redirect examination, Mr. Fung, do you recall?
What happened to
that
the
it
audio?
began
The audio
with a
sounds
number
really
of
weird now.
questions about conspiracies.
Is it just me?
I don't know, Chandler. Would you like me to take a time machine and go back to 1995 and ask the court TV guy what happened, or would you just...
I was just wondering if it was only me or if you had a, if the audio changed for you as well.
I was just being snitchy. I was being snarky. No, it is them.
I like when you're snarky. I like snarky
There
Jeff.
we go.
Snarky Jeff,
There
grumpy
we go.
Jeff.
Even Barry Scheck wants you just to let it go so we can continue.
Okay, okay.
Just kidding.
Or
You recall that?
I don't know where it was, but yes.
Do you recall questions to the effect, are you in a conspiracy with Detective Lang, Michelle Kessler, her husband, whoever that might be, or Detective Furman against this defendant? Remember that?
we'll
Do you remember being asked if you were in a conspiracy with Ms. Mazzola to cover up receiving some item with your bare hand?
Something to that effect.
Do you remember being asked if you were in a conspiracy to allow Detective Lang to get into the evidence processing room and somehow get DNA on swatches?
Remember a question, something to that effect also.
And you answered all those questions no.
That's correct.
Now, let me ask you, have you ever heard the term cover-up?
Yes.
What does that mean to you, sir?
When
You cover up something.
somebody does something wrong and
You
My
hide
cleavage
it.
is showing and I need
cover
to
their tracks.
Never
keep the
need
men
to
from
cover up.
staring.
You never
Try
need
to
to cover up if your
show
cleavage
that
is showing.
they
Never.
didn't do anything wrong.
Or to
Well,
try to
Megan
protect
Fox
them
would agree with
from
that.
being discovered?
I agree
Yes.
with that.
And that one, have you tried, sir, to cover up mistakes by yourself or others that occurred during this investigation?
I have made corrections through proper.
Have you made any cover-ups to hide your mistakes? Oh, I've made corrections.
I think the only answer to that is no. And if you answer anything other than no, it's really suspicious and really dodgy.
Well, it's like the old saying, one man, one country's terrorist is another country's freedom fighter. Things like that.
He's basically admitting to a cover-up at this point, and it's pretty over. See, people wonder why the jury acquitted. It's because of people like Fung doing this investigation that's so terrible. I didn't know. I thought the jury were just all really dumb. But now that I'm watching it, I'm realizing there were so many problems with this investigation, and that's why we watch this every week. That's why I come back every week.
I mean, not only the investigation, but the testimony itself, like we got right here. Have you ever been involved in a cover-up? Well, I've made some corrections.
The answer is no. If it's not no, then you are covering things up. That is ridiculous. Wow. Is it just me? Is it just me, or is that egregious?
It's egregious. It's
Yeah.
not just you.
Channels, but I have not tried to cover up any mistakes.
In your testimony, sir, in the way you answered questions, have you ever tried to cover up mistakes that were made by yourself or others?
No.
Have you tried in your testimony to cover up misconduct by anyone?
No.
Mr. Fung, in the course of you were asked a number of questions about the way you normally testify.
Yes.
All right. Now, when you testify, sir, do you revise your recollections of events in order to make your testimony come out in a way that you think favors the position of the prosecution?
No.
At any time, sir, have you claimed not to remember some event, one way or the other, because being vague in your recollection would help cover up mistakes or misconduct?
Not on purpose, no.
Not on purpose?
Not on purpose?
Really?
No, I have not.
Oh,
Now, Mr. Fung,
not on
haven't
purpose.
you repeatedly been
Never.
changing your testimony about what you told this jury you independently remembered based on fear of being caught in inconsistencies or lies by videotapes?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Have you repeatedly changed your testimony about what you independently remember based on looking at videotapes?
Sustained. Vague.
Have you ever changed your testimony about what you said happened because you saw a videotape of those same events?
Oh,
Yes.
I have looked at videotapes and my memory has been refreshed during the course of my
That means
testimony.
yes.
You can watch his
Well,
hair getting gray while this
Having
is
just
happening.
offered some testimony this afternoon where you told us that you had no independent recollection of events, but you could only piece together and reconstruct things based on what you saw in a video and still photos.
oh,
I was able to reconstruct events by looking through videos, looking at videos.
Right. Events that you have no independent memory of whatsoever.
that's vague.
Now, before you came in here and testified at trial on direct examination, you had seen a video of Andrea Mazzola picking up the glove and the hat.
The
at
line is
Bundy
basically
and
wherever
putting
the
them in a
judge
paper
feels
bag.
the line is.
Yes.
And so when you came here and testified at trial,
question.
you did not testify that you had seen, that you yourself had collected the hat and collected the glove and put it in a paper bag.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Did you testify at this trial that you had picked up the hat at Bundy and the glove at Bundy and put those in a paper bag for later processing?
I don't recall
had-
that I said that during this trial, no.
You didn't say that during this trial, right?
I don't think so.
No, on direct examination, you said Ms. Mazzola had done that.
Is that a
I-
question?
Yes. Right?
I don't remember everything I said, but that's what happened, yes.
But in the grand jury, sir, and I'm now at page 337 to 338, starting at line 8.
All right, hold on. $337.
Your basic differentiation
Actually, I'll
is
start,
medium
start on line
rare,
23 to save time.
based on a 1-inch thick steak at near room temperature. 1 minute per
Question.
side for a
In
total of
photographs
3
A,
minutes
B,
per
and
side
C,
will get you to
do
a
they actually
beautiful
depict the glove in
medium
the
rare.
location and condition you found it? Answer, yes. Question, what did you do with respect to that glove? Answer, initially I measured to see, to locate where it was found, documented that location, and then placed it in a paper bag for later processing. You asked those questions, did you give those answers?
Yes, I
Oh, yes, we'll stand.
Now, you testified, sir, that when you went into the grand jury, that you did not have an opportunity to have extensive conversations with Ms. Clark about your testimony.
yes.
Oh,
Did you have any conversations with Ms. Clark about your testimony before you went into the grand jury?
Only a brief conversation.
And you were testifying on June 22nd.
Or thereabouts.
And that was only
Marcia.
9 days after this collection that occurred at Bundy.
Yes.
And the events certainly, sir, were fresher in your mind on June 22nd than they have been when you've been testifying at this trial.
Yes.
And because you hadn't spoken with Ms. Clark before you went into the grand jury and you were going to be asked questions, you wanted to make sure that your testimony was as accurate as possible about what you could remember.
Oh. When I testified at the grand jury,
Joe
I
Choi, that's actually a thing.
wasn't trying to mislead anybody, and I was trying
That's
to tell
actually
the truth.
really a thing.
Trying to be accurate.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Well, that's an odd thing to have
And
happen.
memory was fresher than it is here today.
Happens.
Yes.
But you told us on redirect examination that you have this habit of saying, I did something when testifying, even if you didn't do it.
When I am working in a team and I am the supervisor of that team and I'm calling the shots, and I tend to use I when asked questions of procedure.
Well, wait a second. I thought that one explanation you gave for why you said I in the grand jury was this concept in working as a team, correct?
Yes.
But didn't Mr. Goldman ask you other questions about testimony at this trial, about your
I'm going
habit
to mute you while you're
of
typing
saying
if you don't
I
mind.
did something?
Oh, sorry.
When in fact, you didn't do it, but someone else did.
Overruled.
He did ask questions to those effects.
Is that a habit that you have all the time, sir, that when somebody asks, what did you do, you tend to say, I did it even if you didn't do it?
I have gone over the grand jury testimony and other testimony
Fung.
in this trial, and I have found that that's what I tend to do.
Oh, what he's talking about here is from the very beginning, he was asked, who collected this piece of evidence? Who did this? Who did that? Who collected the other piece of evidence? And his answer was always, I collected this, I did this, I filed this, I reported this. And then it came out under cross-examination that actually a lot, if not most of the time, he said, I did something. It was actually his assistant, Ms. Mazzola, who had done it. And they just massacred him on that. Okay, you said you did it. And then, but it actually was Ms. Mazzola that did it, wasn't it? You said you collected this evidence. But your brand new assistant, who has only been on a very few murder cases her entire career, she was actually the one that collected this, right? And you were nowhere to be seen. You weren't even around. You didn't even watch her supervise her collect these, did you? And this happened just at great length. And so they had to figure out some way to rehabilitate him. So on redirect, Dennis Fung actually gave the testimony that when he says, I did something, he has a habit of really meaning we. So when we did something, his habit is to just say, I did it. He actually literally testified that when he said I, he means we, and it's a bad habit he picked up. So now, of course, they're just crucifying him again on the recross. And you can just see by the look in his face and the way how long it takes him to answer this question that even he doesn't believe the bullshit he's spewing. When he's asked, so you're now saying that you've discovered you have this habit of saying I when you really mean we. He's like, well, yeah, and I've reviewed all the testimony and I realized that I guess I do that occasionally. Yeah, let's listen to this again. And just look at the expression of utter defeat on his face as SHECK hammers this point home with him. It's just sad. It's sad. This poor bastard.
he did it to himself. I mean, his testimony was inaccurate and he's tangled himself into this, web. And I go back and forth between feeling sorry for him and thinking he deserves everything he gets. But I just love watching Sheck rail him. It's
we
fun.
all do that, don't we? We just we realized we picked up a habit that when we say I did something, I really meant to say we did something.
Yeah, when I say yes, I mean no. When I say no, I mean yes.
Yeah,
I mean, just redefining
exactly.
words. Everybody does that, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're testifying in a major trial for murder.
Yeah. It's a habit he just realized he had.
Yeah.
Did it even if you didn't do it.
Oh, geez, his answer was so long we have to go back even farther. There you go.
He did ask questions to those effects.
Is that a habit that you have all the time, sir, that when somebody asks, what did you do, you tend to say, I did it even if you didn't do it?
I have gone over the grand jury testimony and other testimony in this trial, and I have found that that's what I tend to do.
And I like the way he worded that question. He on replay, he worded it better than I did. It wasn't like when you say I, you really mean we. He made it even more clear when he said, when you say I did something, you really meant you didn't do something or somebody else did something.
Yeah.
He worded that way better than I did.
When you testified at the grand jury, I'm now at page 379, line 8.
Of course, we have it here in Korea all the time.
Hold on.
And it is ass expensive, but it's really good.
I've had it. It's fantastic.
Crickets.
I will say I love steak. Let's talk about steak.
Actually, starting at line 5. Question. Were the blood drops next to those shoe prints?
We've already gone over this twice. It's asked and answered.
Overruled.
Were the blood drops next to those shoe prints? Answer, yes, they were. Question. Did you attempt to retrieve and preserve the blood found in those blood drops? Answer, yes, I did. Question, what did you do? Answer, I transferred the blood drops onto cloth squares or cloth swatches. What I did was wet the cloth swatches with distilled water and then applied them to the stain, the red stains, which are later determined to be blood, and they were transferred in that method. Were you asked those questions? Did you give those answers?
Overruled.
How is what?
Yes.
Now, you weren't asked anything there about documenting and measuring drops, were you?
No.
You weren't asked anything about mental processes, were you?
The collection phase or the collection process includes those parts.
Yes, but the question you were asked is, what did you do, right?
You, meaning like you.
Yes.
And the answer that you gave talked about what you did in terms of putting cloth swatches on the ground and putting water on them and taking up blood, right?
It's part of the answer, yes.
Well, wasn't that the entirety of the answer? When you were asked, what did you do? And you talked about transferring the blood drops onto cloth squares. You were describing your physical actions.
Sustained.
You were describing in your answer your actions 9 days previously.
In that answer, I was describing the procedure for which the blood was collected.
You weren't asked the procedure. You were asked, what did you do, correct?
Sustained, argumentative.
Were you asked?
Now, for those of you that are asking about the argumentative objection, just to be a little more clear, the argumentative objection is essentially when the questioning lawyer crosses the line from asking a question to inserting a conclusion into the question and trying to force the witness to give a positive answer to the conclusion that he's put forward. It's like that was kind of him trying to get Fung to reach a conclusion that Scheck suggested with the question.
Sustained.
You were
So
describing in your answer.
Yes,
I was just going to say, so it's kind of, because I'm still learning about objections, so it's kind of like when the question is posed, it makes it so that, never mind, forget it. I apologize.
It's like you want to influence the witness.
Mm-hmm.
So you sort of, you give your own interpretation or your own inclusion in the question, like, how often did you get your brakes checked before an accident? And someone says, once a month. And then you say, well, so you expect the jury to believe that you got under your car once a month, to check your brakes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're putting in that conclusion into the issue.
Right, like the lawyer is making an argument via the question and asking the witness to agree with the lawyer's argument. So it's like they're testifying, kind of.
Yeah, you want us to believe, or you expect us to believe, or you're telling us, or so what you're saying is, those kind of questions tend to be argumentative.
Right, conclusions that you want the witness to agree with, basically, that are it's like unsubstantiated and it's improper.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good explanation.
9 days previously.
In that answer, I was describing the procedure for which the blood was collected.
You weren't asked the procedure. You were asked, what did you do, correct?
Sustained. Argumentative.
Were you asked, what did you do?
Oral.
Yes,
You were not asked, what was the procedure generally?
but that was my interpretation.
Well, on other occasions, in the grand jury and at the preliminary hearing, didn't Ms. Clark ask you questions about what general procedures were?
Oral.
She may have.
Have you stopped beating your wife yet? That's a loaded question. That's not an argumentative question.
That's what that question was.
And it's your testimony, sir, that in answering those questions about the blood drops found at Bundy, it never occurred to you at all that it would sound better to testify that you did it and not Andrea Mazzola.
Boom. Oh, he's going to shake his head now here. That's the question. You thought it would sound better if you said that you collected it rather than Mazzola collected it. Because again, if you go back to the beginning of this whole fungaganza, you will hear that he did not prepare contemporaneous records regarding who collected what time it was collected, where it was collected, things like that. They would only do that if they considered they would only do that if they considered the piece of evidence to be relevant. They determined what was relevant while they were collecting it. And if it wasn't relevant at the time in their judgment, and it turned out later that it was an important piece of evidence, then they would have to go back however many weeks, days, months, years later and try to remember who collected that evidence, and then they would write in the records. So now now that he was caught, he's saying, so you just wanted to say you did it rather than your brand new assistant, because that would sound better to the jury.
Well, this is just a really big problem because I feel like this is such a simple thing, for him to recollect who did what. And it could conclusively be one of two things. Either, the jury sees it as he can't remember what really happened and he didn't keep records, and so that's a problem. Or he's just lying about what actually occurred, and that shreds his credibility completely. So why would they believe anything else that he has to say?
Yeah.
From a layperson's perspective, it's just like it makes him look like a huge liar. It's like, why would you lie about something as stupid as who collected the evidence? If you didn't do it, you don't remember not doing it. You can't just say that your assistant did it. Like, that's a simple thing to testify to. And it's a factual thing that, like, there's no reason why he should say that he did it if he didn't do it. So he either doesn't remember or he's lying to look a certain way. And it just makes him look sketchy. It makes him look untrustworthy. No wonder he was on the stand for so long. He's obfuscating, and it's really obnoxious. It makes LAPD look bad. It makes the prosecution, look bad. It's a bad look.
Well, it's been an issue since he took the stand.
Yeah. Just saying.
really
I mean, I know I'm saying kind of obvious things, but it's just like,
Yeah.
look at this guy. Like, do you trust him? Would you trust him to, to work on a case for your loved one? Like, it's just, he's a mess.
A bad mess. I mean, like a really bad one. But what are you gonna do? It's you got to deal with the person you're given.
But SHECK is doing an incredible job of, breaking this down. And really, he's not letting him get away with these statements that he made. He's really hammering on these inconsistencies. And I think that's extremely important. He's doing an excellent, excellent job of just completely destroying his credibility, which is fabulous. And I think that, it's obviously a big part of why the jury was distrustful. I know the jury looked at the blood evidence and they didn't trust any of it. And I think that this is a big part of it, the way that SHECK did this cross.
Yeah. And we should wrap it up here now, but we've only got like 8 minutes left in this particular video, so we'll go through to the end of here today. But Unhung Heroes brought the $2 super chat, floating saliva and brain water. That'd be a good cocktail. Been there, done that, says the sign language interpreter claimed his schizophrenia messed him up. He thought he was someone who knew sign language.
Sure.
And with the £5 super chat. What's the difference between leading and argumentative? That's actually a good question. It seems like kind of a subtle difference. A leading question is where you suggest the answer. You put the words in the mouth of the defendant. Gosh, they're actually kind of pretty similar. I'm trying to think of the best way of describing. Like when you lead them to the answer. Like didn't it look like the guy was speeding? Didn't it seem that this was happening? Wouldn't you say that this happened? That would be a leading question. And you can ask leading questions on cross-examination. You can't ask leading questions on direct examination because that's just the way it is. That's because if you ask why, the answer to that is just because. That's what the rules of evidence say.
Would you
so
say...
you can ask...
Oh, sorry. Go on.
So you can ask the leading questions on cross-examination. So that's, like I said, when they do these things, like, so you walked down here, didn't you? Or you went over there and you did that, didn't you? You're leading them to that answer. The argumentative is not like, so back to the changing your oil thing. The leading question would be, well, and then you went and you changed your oil every other Saturday, didn't you? And you elicit that answer from them. But the argumentative question would be they volunteer the answer and say, I change my oil every 2 months. And you go, oh, yeah. So you want us to believe that you actually go out there all by yourself, get under your car, and do so. You're arguing with them basically. You're saying, so basically you're full of shit, aren't you? I hope that makes any sense. What were you going to say, Chandler?
I was just going to ask, so my understanding of the difference between leading and argumentative is that when you ask a leading question, you're leading the witness on facts that you're trying to establish. I was just wondering if that makes sense. So like, let me ask you if my interpretation is correct. Leading is about establishing facts, but argumentative is about legal conclusions, essentially. So like argumentative is, the lawyer making an argument.
You're literally arguing the answer.
Right.
The answer that you want is like, they gave you an answer, now you're just arguing with them.
It is a subtle difference. I was just wondering if that made any sense. I'm trying. I haven't been to law school, so I'm learning, but that was my understanding.
The leading question is you elicit it. You like MG law says you're suggesting the answer. So every morning, so you go and you change your oil in your car twice a month, right? Yes, that's a leading question, which is proper for cross-examination, improper for direct examination. The direct examination should be well, again, here, just like MG Law says, the open-ended questions. You should ask them the questions and let them provide the answers. Why? Because that's how the rules of evidence work. That's just how we decided it should be.
That makes
Whereas
sense.
the argumentative is, So how often do you change your oil? The answer is I change my oil once every 2 months. And then the argumentative question would be, okay, oh yeah. So you want us to believe that you get down there under your car 2 times, one time every 2 months in the dirt, and you actually do this all by yourself. That's the argument. So where they give the answer and you argue with them about the answer.
So it's like challenging the witness's statement, essentially? That's argumentative?
What was that? Say that again?
Would it be that you're challenging the witness's answer?
Not really challenge them, because you can ask challenging questions. It's that fine line between challenging and just arguing with them.
That's a really good question. I mean, I like understanding this better. I appreciate your answer.
Yeah, MG says, so you did X and then you did Y. Those are leading questions. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Whereas the argumentative questions would be, okay, so you say you did X, and then you expect us to believe that you actually went and really did Y. It's the nuance, I guess. It's more than challenging the answers. It's you're arguing the answer. You're arguing with them about it. And when you get into your evidence class and your mock trials and things, you'll hate it. Because it's and again, there's not even a delineated line that says this is an argumentative question and that is a leading question and that is a speculative. It's kind of whatever the judge feels. I mean, you got to get the feel for it. And I hate saying that, but it's a feeling thing. How far can I push this line?
That's a salient answer. I appreciate when people ask legal questions about how court works and how objections work, because a lot of them are questions that I have. And I maybe should ask more questions, because I'm always very curious about things that I don't understand about when I watch trials like this, I learn a lot.
Yeah, and MG Law points out the Rudolph attorney had quite a bit of argumentative questioning, which he did. If you want to watch his cross-examinations, he had a lot of argumentative questions. And strangely,
not a lot of objections, huh?
It's a feel thing. Like if you listen to a question and you go, dude, what the hell? That kind of feeling. Like, what? You're not, when you stop asking for testimony and you just start arguing. You got to just it's just a feeling thing. And so and it's up to the court, go, okay, I don't think that crossed the line, or I do think that crossed the line. And that line may change depending on what the judge had for breakfast, whether he got it whether he or she got in an argument with their significant other on the way to court, or whether they had wild, passionate, fulfilling, satisfactory sex immediately before court. All that can just change how they feel about a particular question. Hate to say that, but sometimes law is really arbitrary. All right, let's power through the last 8 minutes here. See if we don't have any more super chats. I think we can take down Doggo Cam, because that's not going to happen today. All hail Doggo Cam for tomorrow, when potentially criminal Sean should be joining us for 2 hours of a sensitive comment, unbridled, unrestricted conversation. So join me tomorrow for that. But in the meantime, I don't think we can just take the Doggo banner off. That ain't gonna happen. All right, let's do this.
That did not occur to me.
It was just this habit
I'll be right back.
of answering questions where you say, I did something, even if you didn't do it. Just that bad habit.
Well, it's overbroad.
Sustain, rephrase the question. We've about exhausted this area.
Well, just do one more. Quick one.
One quick one.
I just love Barry.
Now, with respect to the red stain on the Bronco, I'm at the grand jury, page 390, line 6. Question: how did you recover them?
Hold on.
396, which ones?
Line 6. This question. Sure. Do you have it in front of you, Mr. Fung, by chance, your grand jury testimony?
No, I do not.
Did Fung start crying yet? Not that he's going to, but did he? Or did they just sit here and wait for me to answer the next question?
Just that question and answer.
He just kind of pushed forward for, you know, he wanted to keep going on this line of questioning, and there was an objection, and he was just like, well, just one more.
Here.
That's what she said, Tweety.
Your Honor, I went into this, counsel went into this, I think it's the third time.
One last question.
And this question was in reference to the red stain on the Bronco and all the drops at Rockingham. Question.
Wait a minute,
Just read the few lines.
I don't do
before that.
Discord. Sorry. Not going to do Discord.
Discord is obnoxious.
Yeah.
I downloaded it, but there are too many notifications, and it's too confusing, so not a fan. It's fun to, you know, chat with your friends
Proceed.
privately,
Question. How did you recover them?
but
Answer.
you're not missing much.
I recovered them in the same manner described before, where I would wet a wet cloth swatch or several cloth swatches if needed, apply it to the red stain, and then let the stain transfer onto the cloth swatch. Were you asked those questions, and did you give those answers?
Yes,
And the fact is, sir, that the only stains where you took a cloth swatch and put them onto the ground were numbers 55 and 56, 2 footprints at Bundy.
no, I did do actual swatching with some other stains
But
along
those
the trail.
you're now referring to, you actually showed Miss Mazzola a better technique as she was swatching and did one or two yourself?
No, there were times when I would take the tweezers, go through the,
Oh, Fung. Listen to him dying on the vine here. So literally, out of all of the swatch evidence that was collected, out of literally all of it, where you swatched the evidence, when you said I did all of this, you actually meant you only did it on 2 pieces of evidence? And his answers, I did some others too. Like, out of all the evidence, he did a couple of them.
Yeah, he's really dying here.
And you know, if somebody asks you a question and you answer immediately, good on you. If someone asks you, did you fuck up here or are you lying? And you consider how maybe you should try and answer the question, you sound like a fucking liar. An incompetent idiot at best, a fucking liar at worst. And that's exactly what he's doing here.
That's why the jury didn't trust any of the blood evidence whatsoever. I mean, there were multiple reasons, but it's like, when this guy is the main dude, you know, like, who's representing this evidence that's supposed to be so damning, you know, how can you trust any of it? He looks extremely dishonest for no reason.
And this question was so simple. And
Like, just say your assistant did it. It makes it like, my assistant did this and then I did that. I didn't oversee all of it, but I was aware of the fact that she did this, this, and this, and I did this, that, and that. Like, it's not hard. Just be honest. Why are you lying about something so simple?
And especially after you've committed to being an idiot by saying, every time I said I literally meant we. Now, you've already said that. So when you ask that, I'd say, yes. You know, what are you going to do? He knows the answer. BARRY SCHECK does not ask questions that he does not know the answer to and cannot prove.
I love the look on his face. I love the way he's leaning in. There's just something so, like, kind of iconic about him in this moment, you know, his questioning. He's just, I really love watching this. It's fantastic.
Let's listen to that again.
Yeah.
Listen how long it takes him to answer this simple yes or no question.
Stains where you took a cloth swatch and put them onto the ground were numbers 55 and 56, 2 footprints at Bundy.
no, I did do actual swatching with some other stains.
Now listen to how long it takes to answer the follow-up question.
You're now referring to, you actually showed Miss Mazzola a better technique as she was swatching and did one or two yourself?
No, there were times when I would take the tweezers, go through the
His face.
substrate control collection, go through the swatching of the red stains with the cloth square and putting it in a
I'm so
plastic
done
bag.
with him right now.
There were times when I did that.
That was a 25-second answer to a yes or no question.
Oh, God.
Who's backing up? Fung. He's desperately trying to get out of the courtroom. Yeah, that was a 25-second non-answer, actually, to this question. Which was, so you did 2 pieces of evidence. No, I did others. Oh, so you mean the couple of times you showed her, your assistant, a better way of swatching it. And then he just goes off the rail to the point. And again, Chandler picked up on it. I'm sure some of you did, if not most of you. Sheck just like starts shaking his head like, dude.
He's just so over him in this moment. He's just like, I don't have patience for this. Like, this guy is just ridiculous.
We'll go back to the beginning of this answer again, but just watch Shrek's demeanor as he goes through this.
Shrek?
Shrek. Watch Barry Schreck's demeanor as he goes through all of this.
Zola, a better technique as she was swatching and did 1 or 2 yourself?
No, there were times when I would take the tweezers,
Confusion,
go through the
waiting,
substrate control collection, go through the
like listening to the Special Olympics success speeches. And he shakes his hand.
the red
Shakes his
stains
head.
with the cloth square and putting it in a.
Did you see the eye roll right there?
Mm-hmm.
He does. He's like, he gets the big bug-eyed eye roll right here.
Zola, a better
watch that again,
technique as
sorry.
she was
I think it's
swatching
just
and did 1 or
brilliant.
2 yourself?
No, there were times when I would take the
Fung is
tweezers,
almost at Fetterman mentality. That's mean.
go through the
Fatterman.
Yes.
substrate control
Pennsylvania
collection,
stroke out
go
Congress
through the
guy. Here we go. Watch his
swatching of
eyes.
the red stains with the cloth square and putting it in a plastic bag. There were times when I did that.
Didn't you tell us previously, sir, that it was Miss Mazzola that did the swatching of those stains at Bundy?
The stain.
Now, you were asked on redirect
He
examination that at the
He misstates the testimony. Didn't you say in your testimony that it was Mazzola? That, and then there's this objection, misstates the testimony. It's sustained, and then he just moves on to it. Like he doesn't even. He knew it was going to be objected to. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to do that. But he just asked the next question. It's like,
He's so good at pivoting and just,
Yeah.
rephrasing. He can do it just on a dime. That's a skill that I feel like it's kind of inherent, like you might be able to learn that, but it's kind of a talent that you're born with. He's just excellent at it.
preliminary hearing, you actually mentioned Miss Mazzola.
Yes.
And
I was a
you
senator.
were
I
asked
thought he was a
questions about how you were not
Still.
in any way reluctant to reveal what her role was in the collection of evidence when you testified at the preliminary hearing.
He's a Congress. He was House of. I thought he was
I
House of
did
Representatives. not
reveal
Senate.
her that she was part of the
He's a senator, yes. Whatever.
search team, yes.
Well, but you were in no way reluctant to reveal
Yes, I
how
was.
much of the collection and swatching she actually did.
No, I was not.
And Mr. Goldberg read you part of this. I'd like to read the rest of it. From the preliminary hearing,
Counsel's commentary, absolutely stricken.
I'd like to read you a segment
Wait a
from
minute. All right, proceed.
preliminary hearing, July 7th at page 39, starting at line 17. Now redirect you 17 through the next page to 21. Question: how do you collect blood stains from a crime scene? Answer: generally, stains are transferred onto a swatch by first wetting the swatch with distilled water, applying it to the stain so the blood is absorbed onto the swatch, and at that point it is put into a plastic bag and then put into a coin envelope where it is labeled with the corresponding photo ID number. Question. Now, is it also your job, sir, to package all of the evidence you collect and label it with what is known as a DR number? Yes, it is. And did you do so in this case? Yes, I did. Now I'm directing your attention to items number 1 through 8. Did you prepare a report documenting what items numbers 1 through 8 are in this case? Answer, yes, I did. Did you collect them, sir? Answer, I did, along with my assistant criminalist, Ms. Mazzola. Question. And now that up to that point, do you recall Mr. Goldberg reading you that on redirect examination?
Yes.
All right, let's read the rest. Question.
Yes.
Is that another criminalist with the Los Angeles Police Department? Answer, yes. Question. Do you usually send 2 criminalists to a crime scene? Answer, not always, no. Question. What was this criminalist doing with you on that particular day? Answer, she was there to learn how to process crime scenes. Question. You were showing her how it is done. Answer, yes. When you asked those questions, did you give those answers?
Yes.
Yes.
And when you said that she was just there for you to show her how it is done, were you trying to convey at the preliminary hearing on national television that you did most of the work and she was just there observing?
This was gone into on cross, and it hasn't, and I didn't ask about.
See, that's a little argumentative right there.
Overruled.
That was not my intention when I answered those questions.
That
All right, counsel will be on their time now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as far as the jury and presentation of evidence in court today, we're going to stand in recess. However, as I indicated to you, I'm going to be talking to some of you this afternoon, one at a time. So as far as the presentation of evidence is concerned, we will stand in recess. Mr. Fung, you may step down. You're ordered to return tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
Oh, I wonder why he was talking
All
to
right.
the jurors. I wonder what that was.
And
can't
we'll take
remember.
a 10-minute recess to recycle. I want to see counsel over at sidebar with the court reporter, please.
It was something banal and unimportant, but that's the end of the OJ stream today. We got back to Fung, and we'll continue with some more Fung in the future.
We got through Goldberg.
Survived.
I'm grateful.
We survived Goldberg for now. Will
For
he
now.
be back for a redirect?
Oh God, I hope not. I'd like to see Chris Darden. I'd like to see Marcia Clark. I mean, I just want to see anybody but Goldberg. He's so dry and just so like unbearable.
Well, I've decided that once we get through Shrek, once we get through Shrek and Fung, we'll do criminalist trainee Mazzola, who's next in the
Should be
witness stand.
interesting.
And then we'll just go back and just start this whole damn thing. We'll probably skip all the scientific stuff because that's just hell. That was just hell watch. We'll just kind of watch everything. Why not? It'll just be a Thursday thing from now until the end of time,
I'm into
unless
it.
something comes up.
My Thursdays are booked. I'm up at 4:30 every morning until probably never. So until I get out of law school, or no, I'll still be here if you still want me.
I had like 4 different songs running through my head that I was going to sing, but I can't. then it was just too late, so I missed the opportunity for any of them.
I was going to make a Shrek joke, but
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be doing OJ next week or not, because there's been calls to do this Melly trial that starts on Monday.
Oh yeah.
Lots of people calling for that. I literally know that Melly is apparently the name of some rapper dude that is accused of killing 2 other rapper dudes, and the death penalty is on the table. That right there is literally every single piece of evidence or information I have regarding that matter.
You know more than me.
But,
Way more than me. I don't know anything.
It seems like it could be interesting. So Hayden and I are in discussions regarding whether or not we want to do the Melly trial.
Well, you and Hayden are a great team. I think you'd do awesome. Obviously.
So I mean, I'm whether he's in or not. We'll do the Melly. I'll start the Melly trial, and we'll see how it goes. Why not?
Sounds good.
Well, see, that's the thing. That trial doesn't interest me. Frankly, the Travis Rudolph case did not interest me at all either until Flux started messaging me in the middle of the night one night saying, "You got to watch this bitch's testimony." And then I watched and went, that's weird. And then suddenly the next day's testimony got worse. And then I said, all right, I guess I've got to cover this because this is insane.
Well, you really
And it
committed
turned
to
out
it. You did great.
I was interested in it. Yeah, I became interested in it. Shut up, Flux.
You marathoned it. I mean, you were like powering through. That was intense, insane. Like you made it to the, you know, without skipping a beat. So I was very impressed. Just saying.
Well, so we'll start it out at some point, and we'll see how it goes. It's I mean, maybe I'm a callous son of a bitch, but I don't care if one rapper kills two other rappers. To me, that's just two less rappers, three less rappers if one of them goes to jail. It's three less rappers in the world I have to worry about. But it's the legal principles, the arguments, and just some of the courtroom shenanigans. And I'm assuming that if there's three rappers involved, there's probably going to be some shenanigans because Hayden covered the weird rapper trial.
The Triple X Temptation trial.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that one. I know everybody was like really into that one when it happened, but I think it overlapped with something else. Maybe Zachariah Anderson.
I just didn't care about it.
I didn't either.
Literally at all. How we do the trial of Billy Jack? Can we watch that? That was a great movie. That's actually literally one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
It's a very, very obscure movie.
My favorite legal film is 12 Angry Men.
Yeah, it's not really a legal movie. It's like about an Indian accused of murder.
Well, I mean, it takes place in
it's a pseudo western. That's kind of what it is.
Wait, what?
Like
what are you talking
fight
about?
for justice. The trial of Billy Jack.
Oh, you're talking about that one.
Yeah.
I got confused. I thought you were talking about 12 Angry Men, and I was like, it is so a legal film. It takes place during a trial.
Well, yeah, that's I mean, 12 Angry Men is just, they
I'll have
just
to
sit
check.
in a jury room the entire movie. It is very much a legal movie.
Yeah, very low budget as well, but still like excellent. I think that's what's brilliant about it.
There's not a lot of need for a budget. You get 12 chairs and a table, and there's your entire set.
And yet,
But yeah,
brilliant, epic.
yeah, the trial of Billy Jack's like a western movie.
Okay.
Boy, I haven't seen it for years, but it's a great movie. There's three films in the Billy Jack series. But he killed somebody, and it's a really emotional film. And then he gets sentenced to jail, sentenced to prison, and there's like a juvenile detention school kind of place that's on a reservation in Arizona, and they rebuild the school and et cetera, et cetera. It was like the precursor to a random white person goes into the black neighborhoods of Harlem and corrects everything. And then there's a big standoff, and there's tensions between the school and the people in the town. And yeah,
I'll have to check it out. It sounds. I like obscure films.
It's a great film. I see it's quite an emotional thing. It's one of those flashback things. They show the flashbacks through the trial, but it's one of those kind of it's a 70s movie.
Okay.
It's a 70s movie.
I can take a
right on the
70s
heels
movie.
of Vietnam. And that was actually now. Those of you that have seen my Pale Rider replica hat, I was actually trying to decide if I want the Pale Rider hat or the Billy Jack hat, because Billy Jack's got a pretty sweet hat too. The Billy Jack the Billy Jack replica hat may be my next hat purchase.
Oh, I have to see that.
So what's coming up for you, Chandler? Are you doing anything these days on YouTube?
Yeah, I am. Well, yesterday I
Yeah.
streamed the Sarah Boone interview with MLS
you
Law. And then tomorrow I'm going to be on Layback News with Eric Hunley. I am probably going to be doing another Sarah Boone episode with David next week, where we're going to be talking about how he would defend her, which will be fascinating. And then when the Sarah Boone trial comes up, I'm going to be on his channel. We're going to be streaming it. That should be a lot of fun. And then in the meantime, I have to plan some other streams. I have ideas. I don't have anything concrete yet, but I will update you guys, and I will hopefully get some new streams up soon.
All right.
But definitely Wednesday, and you can catch me on Eric Hunley's channel tomorrow.
Hopefully, I can't think of anything that would prevent me from being there. So hopefully,
I'll
I'll
see
be
you
there as
there.
well.
Awesome.
Oh wow! I was just seeing that the Trial of Billy Jack is on the list of the 50 worst movies of all time.
Oh, really? See, I love watching bad movies.
It's not a bad movie.
It's not?
It's a really good movie. It's just one. I guess it's one of those things that the critics hate.
Well, it depends on who the critics are. I have to look it up on Rotten Tomatoes and see what the tomato-ometer reads. But I mean, it's like, you know, I do trust IMDb's list of like, you know, the top 250, like the bottom, you know, whatever. I love bad movies. Jessica Reloaded and I watched this terrible horror movie called Kill Her Goats the other night. It was one of the worst movies I've ever watched, and we had so much fun just laughing at how stupid it was. I love bad movies. But, you know, maybe it sounds like your movie is not, you don't agree with that assessment. I have to watch it now.
No. It was actually a very moving, touching movie. We're to believe that Tom Laughlin is Native American. Well, yeah, of course we are, because that's you know, that's what they did back then. And spoiler alert: the Indian that cries in the 1970s Litter movie, dude was Italian.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And you got what was his name from Sesame Street? Maurice from Sesame Street. He played a lot of Indians in movies. Just because they didn't want real Indians doing it, so they got like Italians to play the Indians.
It is funny how Hollywood does that. They do that a lot. I have a neighbor who, like, she's into acting, and she's just like, I don't want to play any roles that, you know, are not my actual ethnicity. I have a big problem with that. And I'm just like, well, you're missing out on extra work, but okay.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then I mean, what does this have to do with OJ? Nothing. But then you do sort of cross the line with, you know, the Breakfast at Tiffany's and Mickey Rooney playing the Japanese guy. Hurry, go right,
That was that unfortunate stain on an excellent film. Just can't
Steven Seagal
ever
plays Italians in every movie.
I mean,
Nico
Birth of a Nation. We can get into that, but maybe not for YouTube. Maybe this is more of a Rumble conversation. But you don't really do Rumble, so.
And Peter Mayhew played a Wookiee. Cultural appropriation bastard. Good thing he's dead. He deserves it.
I do trust IMDb.
It's just
Thomas Deserano.
Anyway, yeah. So for me, tomorrow will be, hopefully, we're still planning on doing a 2-hour stream with potentially Criminal Sean, the only man on the internet who somehow gives less than 0 fucks. We've already got a warning sensitive content label put on the thumbnail, and I don't even know what we're talking about yet. But I already know it needs a warning on the label.
Well, Sean's awesome. That's gonna be fun.
Monday, Maritime Monday should be back for a brief stint of some sort, and then we'll see what this Melly trial is all about.
Awesome. I've missed Maritime Monday. I've had people come to me and be like, "Where's Maritime Monday?" Like, I miss Maritime Monday. So,
Legendary Racing says you stole my line. Yes, I did. Thank you for that. All right, everybody, that's it. It is 12:36 a.m. here in Korea. It's time for me to finally get to sleep before 4 a.m. See what my body thinks of that.
You've earned a lot of sleep, Jeff. You've been streaming a lot. I think you should get some excellent rest. I vote for that.
All right, everybody. Wait for the update on the time and place of the interview with potentially Criminal Sean tomorrow. Thumbnail should be uploaded about 9 or 10 hours from now. I'm going to go straight to sleep. All right, everybody. Chandler, thank you for being here for OJ Thursday, as always.
Thank you.
And you can see, like, I need to sleep. My eyes are all puffy and swollen. I'm trying to keep them from, like, sealing shut here.
Go to bed.
We'll see you all soon. See you all tomorrow. Love everybody. Mods, thank you for being Moddy. Chat, thank you for being Chat. The Vice Racks. Well, we can save this. The Vice Racks of the day was Caligula with the highest chat of a US $8.23 Canadian $11 chat. But what I actually meant to say was the Vice Squad chat is the best chat on the internet.
Agreed.
Thank you for the super chats that came in today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Enjoy your legal vices. Lawrax out.